Welcome to this week's episode of Campbell and Jones Meet the Monsters, the podcast where we chart the cinematic legacy of the classic monsters. I'm John Campbell. With me, as always, Brendan Jones.
Woo! This is my favorite one yet. I'm going to talk like this for the whole show. This one goes deep with me. This is taking me back to my Texas roots.
Big old Texas, hell yeah, the near
Though I
dark.
think it's primarily taking place in Oklahoma and Kansas City and places like that, because they seem to always go like, oh no, he's gone all the way down to Texas now. And
Yeah.
Anyway,
It
we're
ends up
talking
in
About
Texas, but
Near Dark, one of the best vampire films of the 80s, one of the best vampire films ever made.
This one is a tough one to beat, in my opinion. This one might
it has its
be
weaknesses.
my favorite.
We'll talk about it. I can nitpick anything. There are things that don't work in this movie, but the things that do work,
I'm back to
are huge.
I'm back to my Lost Boys opinion, though. I'm like, I don't know, Brendan, if there's anything really that there's. I mean, you gotta be picking some nits in this thing, because this is damn good filmmaking here.
This is filmmaking.
Oh my god.
This is, I mean, Kathryn Bigelow.
Oh, Kathryn Bigelow.
I'm wearing a hat right now, and I am now physically taking it off. You can tell the listeners I'm physically taking off my hat to Kathryn Bigelow, because she just...
Oh, God, I love
and you can see, I mean, I don't know who influenced who in the relationship, but Kathryn Bigelow and James Cameron, they just seem to be lockstep, especially at this point early in their careers, where their movies feel the same.
Yeah.
And that's not a slight to either of them.
No.
They're so competently
they made
done,
each other better.
Yes, and so visually awesome. And I will say they share some of the same beats, like their action beats. Or I'm like, okay, yeah, there are parts of this I'm like going, Terminator aftertaste.
But that's a delicious aftertaste, sir.
It is, and it doesn't feel like a ripoff at all. It's just its own thing, and this is a beautifully made, low budget film. This isn't a huge budget movie.
No, but this shows
you,
much like actually Terminator, what creative, very smart filmmakers can do with limited money, and how they can almost turn that limited budget into the style of the film. Because I think both this and Terminator actually, in some ways, benefit from their low budgets in terms of giving them this sheen that is, I think, darker,
they probably
meaner,
diverted a lot of that budget to. They just, not that these are huge stars at the moment, but they just got the right people, just like they did for Terminator.
Well, that's the thing about this. You talk about the James Cameron influence on this, because this coming from because literally James Cameron was talking to Kathryn Bigelow about when she was starting to make this movie. He goes, "You know what you should do? You know it'd be what would make your job a lot easier?
Just take all these people."
He goes, "Just take the cast from Aliens."
Yeah.
He goes, "I just made Aliens. Just take those people." He goes, "That's going to start you with they already have chemistry." And so you get Heinrichsen, Paxton, and Goldstein right off of Aliens. And they're all, number one, three actors I fucking love anyway.
Good Lord.
Particularly,
Good Lord.
like, Bill Paxton is legitimately like one of my favorite actors ever.
When he's given the good stuff, and R.I.P. Bill Paxton.
Oh my God!
Given the good
stuff. That dude. I don't know if people have read the tragedy of that, because that dude was taken from us.
He was taken from us, and it does. It hurts every day, because he was great. And when you turn him loose, and I'm not saying it's because he was young here. Yeah, he didn't have anything to prove. He was doing solid character work and everything.
Well, I mean, it's the same. It's the same way he attacks the role of Hudson in Aliens.
Attacks is the word for it. Yeah, he does not. And it's not hammy. It's not like people go, you talk about, if you want to go back and talk about, let's talk about David Carradine. Right. No, it's not hammy. No, but he devours it. He eats it up. He does not leave a man standing on the screen. That's a testament to his co-stars, because Lance Henriksen doesn't have anywhere near the dialogue, and he just stands there and he's riveting.
It's a perfect use of both of their screen personalities. Because I also love Lance Henriksen, and he's a guy though who can do so much with just his presence. He doesn't need to talk a lot. He's just a guy who, anytime I watch anything and Lance Henriksen shows up, I'm like, ooh, this will be good. Like, at the very least, he's going to be good.
If he just hit hitches one side of his mouth up, for one thing, he has one of the world's greatest character faces, like a Boris Karloff, in the fact that it's very drawn and it has these deep lines and it's almost skeletal. So if he hitches one side of his mouth up, your blood goes cold. Yep. It's just impossible not to.
Yeah.
Holy
I love the guy, and obviously was a regular. Both he and Paxton were regulars of Cameron films.
Yeah. So I'm already gushing. The thing is that is one of the I was talking about, one of the strengths that all of my nitpicks cannot defeat the strengths of this thing, because you have a good story.
Yeah.
And it's not an amazing story either. It's very simple.
It's purposefully simple, though. It doesn't feel like they're holding back in the writing. It feels like this is done to be it's a lean, mean movie. It runs 94 minutes really effectively. Yeah, which is, boy, what a huge change of pace. I actually watched this thing twice in the last week.
Really?
Yeah, I started in on it's interesting. I watched it, and then I was going to watch Kathryn Bigelow's commentary, and I got through about 20 minutes of the commentary. I will say, I wish she had somebody with her, because there's a lot of lulls in it, and it just feels like somebody else.
She needed some prompting.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think a one-person commentary is tough, unless you're like Scorsese or something like that. These guys who will run all day. But there's a lot of lulls. So then I just, honestly, about 20 minutes, I just turned the commentary off and watched the movie again this morning.
You can't go wrong.
I know. I love this. It had been a few years since I watched it, but God, I love this movie. This is always one I point to when people talk about horror movies. I go, "Have you seen Near Dark?" Because I feel like it's a movie you either haven't seen or you think you think it rules. Like, I find no one in between. Like, I don't find anyone who goes, "I didn't really care for it."
It's strange, but I mean, I think that it's still seen. I mean, because it is an indie film, but it is still, even amongst horror fans, unless you're a real student like yourself, or if you're someone who was around during the period like myself, there's still people today that know a lot about vampire films or about horror films that were like, "What is that one now?"
Well, we had.
Why would I have to explain Near Dark to anybody?
You and I, talking to our friend and frequent guest of the show, Elliot Lewis, did not know this movie, which I was surprised by, because Elliot is as encyclopedic about. I mean, I always think of Elliot as Elliot knows way more about horror. They specialize in horror movies more than I do, because I love horror movies, but I love other genres as much, if not more. And that's actually one of the reasons I love this movie so much. Is my favorite genre of film is the crime movie. And this is basically an Outlaws on the Run movie that just they're vampires. Like, you could take out the vampire stuff and make them junkies.
This one, it's true.
And it'd be the same movie, basically.
The parallel that came to me watching it again, because it's been a few years for me as well. And man, do I need to get like a nice Blu-ray of this one.
Yeah, I'll talk about the Blu-ray, which I have, which is we've talked.
Well,
about
it's got the terrible new cover.
Yeah.
But I'll say this is that
it's a good copy.
The parallel that came to me was it's Bonnie and Clyde, and it's not. The reason I say that is there is no purpose to these vampires. There's no arc. There's no plot.
Yeah,
they are outlaws, and it's an episodic. It's just like when in Bonnie and Clyde, when you get the characters that end up joining them along the way, that are sort of like somewhat innocent, and they're like, "Oh, just relax with us, man. We're having fun."
You
we
mean
go to a bank, we hold up a bank.
You're Gene Wilder, if you will.
Yeah, a Gene Wilder showing, except for he was his brother, right?
No. Gene Hackman's the brother. Gene Wilder, they pick up.
Oh, right. Gene Wilder, they pick. Gene Hackman is Buck. Right, yeah, sorry. Got my genes mixed up.
It's all right. Both great genes.
Both. But it's that wandering episodic thing where it is just outlaws who are going until they're going to be stopped.
Yeah.
Whether that's after hundreds of years in the case of these vampires, or in the case of Bonnie and Clyde, they just hung out for a couple of years, got up some shit, and then went out in a hail of bullets.
Yeah. The movie actually that I was thinking of, weirdly, it's not a movie I ever think of, but that actually I went like, the movie that is this movie without the vampire shit, I feel like is Larry Clark's Another Day in Paradise. That is the junky, non-horror kind of crime spree.
That's a deep cut, my friend. I barely remember Another Day in Paradise, but yes.
James Woods.
James Woods.
It's a dark, bleak
James Woods, who we will be talking about in this podcast.
Because somebody did fight some vampires at some point, Mr. Woods.
He sure did.
Oh, did he ever? Oh, I want to talk about my... I don't recognize that as a good movie, but I enjoy that movie, is how I feel about John Carpenter's vampires.
There are some that fit that. Yeah, where it's like, oh, this is crap, but I'll watch it.
Yeah, that's one of those movies where it's like, objectively it's bad, but I've seen it like 6 times.
I'm reminded of We Hate Movies with their whole thing about hangover movies.
Yeah.
It's like, is that a good hangover movie? It's like, yeah, no, it's shit. You're not going to sit there and pay attention to it. But if it's on, it's something easy to put in front of your eyes.
They did an episode about that movie, and I'm almost positive that they also agreed with me about vampires being a hangover movie, which is just like, it's got some fun stuff in it, but you by no means have to actually watch it, and probably shouldn't.
No.
But let's talk about the poster for this movie, which is so iconic.
I will say the original poster is not great.
Yeah, but it's
I still prefer it to the shit they did later.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, it's a combination of a press photo, publicity photo of our 3 main vampires.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got Jesse, played by Lance Henriksen. We've got Diamondback, played by Jeanette Goldstein. And then we've got, is his name Severn?
Severn, yeah.
Severn, played by the greatest of all time, Bill Paxton.
Yeah, that's the thing. He could do anything.
Yeah, they're standing there looking like badasses and covered in blood. So that's what they probably had the photo taken. And someone when they're like putting the poster together is like, oh, here's a great idea. We'll do these sort of photoshopped in bullet holes through their bodies at random points.
Yeah.
And then we'll have light shining through those holes.
Yeah.
Well, that's actually a pretty cool idea for a vampire poster if the characters were actually reacting to being shot full of holes.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just dumb. But behind them is one of the best shots of the movie.
Oh my god,
it's smart.
It's the shot I think of from this movie.
It's iconic. There's a shot in the film where the entire gang, including the characters not really shown on the poster, May, and our handsome young lead of Caleb,
Adrian Pasdar,
and also Homer, the kid vampire.
Yeah.
But basically, it's a group shot of them up on top of a hill in the middle of night, and a very sort of organic-ish, as in they're probably above a used car lot or something. This sort of bright light is just illuminating them, sort of highlighting them.
It's so indicative of not just this movie, but like movies of this era that I love.
It reminds me of the Warriors. Yeah. Like there's a few shots of the Warriors when you get like a group shot.
As you bring up the Warriors, there's a lot of Walter Hill in the DNA of this movie too. And Walter Hill, of course, producer of the Aliens franchise, so he worked with Cameron on those movies.
Oh
yeah. That's probably where like I love Walter Hill, but probably he's made the majority of his money off of those Alien movies.
Well, he backed the right horse.
He sure. I mean, he wrote the first one, or co-wrote the first one.
Yeah, co-wrote,
and then subsequently has produced every other one that's come out. He got attached to that thing. Yeah, because it was him and Dan O'Bannon that wrote.
Dan O'Bannon.
Yeah.
I don't want to leave the poster yet without you giving us the tagline. What's the text on that poster, John?
I believe it's wait a minute. Now there's a couple here. You talking about Pray for Daylight?
That's not the one that. No, that's I think a newer one. The one I'm familiar with is the one that goes on and on and on.
Well, okay, now see, here's the thing. You and I may not be looking at the same posters, because there are like 8 variant posters for this movie.
There are. The one that on the classic poster is, and this is the one that was actually up in the theaters, was at dawn they hide, at dusk they wake, at night they search for blood, pray for daylight.
Yeah, pray for
Someone
daylight.
did later on decide, we really don't need all that other
well, like, the Blu-ray, which does have this terrible Twilight-inspired cover, does keep Pray for Daylight, though, on it.
Yeah, I think Pray for Daylight, they just decided to shorten everything.
They do minimize the outlaw gang of vampires kind of in the lower section of the cover.
It's not a good cover.
But it is one of those things too where you go like, what is the same? Because it's trying to sell the Twilight thing, but it also can't hide the fact that there's like gun-toting, bloodied. So it's like if I'm a teenage girl and I go, ooh, kind of a Twilight thing. Oh, maybe not.
Yeah, well, for one thing, it's weird that Adrian Pasdar in the redone poster, he's, of course, they're Edwarding him up. So
God, they've Edward here. I showed my sister this, and she even pointed out that they gave him these gold eyes, which is a thing
they gave him the gold eyes, which not a thing in the movie.
Yeah, that's a Twilight thing.
So they made him ghostly pale and with the bright red lips, whereas May,
Jenny
who
Wright,
in the movie is actually a vampire,
right?
And he's the one that's being turned very slowly into one.
Yeah,
but she is all bright. Flesh tone.
And then look at the back of it too. It's still all romance and
Yeah.
And they've still colored him differently, even in the screenshot from the movie.
Jeez.
So they really are trying to fool people, and I think, they even went in and photoshopped the gold on his eyes in this picture from the film itself. So this is, by the way, this is a great Blu-ray, though. It has commentaries. It's got a great making of documentary. It's a beautiful restoration of the movie, but the cover is shit on it. That's my only complaint about it. Otherwise, this is an excellent Blu-ray copy of Near Dark.
They should always issue like the flip side thing. Like, hey, do you prefer the original cover? Slap this on there.
I love that Shout Factory and Arrow do that. They'll do like and usually I actually keep their redesigns, because they'll get like comic book artists and stuff to do new drawings of movies and stuff, which are great. Like we've talked before about the oh shit, why am I blanking on his name? One of my favorites. Was it Sean Phillips who did the
Sean Phillips did the Night Stalker thing, but that was for Kino Lorber.
That's for Kino Lorber. They'll do it too, actually. Yeah, the Kino Lorber.
Yeah, that design is so weak. Now, I'd like a full poster of that. That is
me
nice.
Too. This movie has many alternate taglines, though.
Oh, hit me with them.
So we talked about just pray for daylight being the simplified one. Here's a simple one that was, the night has its price.
Yeah, I mean, that's
a line in the movie.
Okay, I'll accept it.
So yeah, killing you would be easy. They'd rather terrify you, ... forever.
Wow.
And then a variation on that. They can kill you once, but they can terrify you forever.
Okay.
Let's see here. Blood is our life, darkness our feeding ground, and sunlight our eternal damnation.
Jeez.
Now here you go. If for the Twilight audience, here you go. In one hot, hungry kiss, he gave her everlasting love. She gave him everlasting life.
Yeah. Again, I'm always amazed that someone sits in an office and gets paid for this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, how do we get that job, Brandon? Because you and I could sit in a room and just come up with taglines forever.
Give me 15 minutes, I would have come up with those at least. And if you gave me an hour, I would have come up with much better ones.
Yeah, we could give you like 50 or 100 taglines for
Pay
a movie.
me now.
Yeah. Yeah, and we'll do it for half of whatever they're paying somebody now, probably,
Yeah.
We'll take a pay cut. We could do that in a second, man.
Here's a better one. Near Dark? No duh.
Man, that
free
was
gold. Free gold.
That was just right off the top of your head,
right
man.
Off the beam.
Hey, whoever's gonna make the 4K version of this, let's say maybe.
But
I actually hope they make a 4K just so I can trade in this fucking cover design.
It is ugly.
Yeah.
But 1987, this is the year I graduated high school, and I remember seeing Near Dark. I keep bringing that up. The last few movies have all been 87, so
yes,
it was a big year for me.
87 was a big year for monster movies, though.
It was. And like I said, since I started college the next spring, I had this big gap of months where I was just getting a brief paycheck and seeing movie. So 87, I was well informed of what was in the theaters. And I loved Near Dark right off the bat. It was just right up my alley. Plus, I lived in Texas.
Yeah.
And I love the tropes of vampire films and literature and comics and whatever. But I also love when those tropes get broken, if they're broken well. Vampires in blue jeans, hick vampires, I'm all about it. I love if they're not fancy talking European dudes in suits. And so I love this gang. They're just, and how visceral. I gotta say, that scene in the bar.
It's the best scene in the movie, man.
It's not only the best scene in the movie, it may be one of the best, most uncomfortably long. I was actually reminded of Inglourious Bastards.
Yeah.
Where it's like, where they did the guessing game in the bar. It's an extended scene of tension with people that are locked and cannot escape. They're all in a confined space, and violence can break out at any second. And so it had that same thing where I'm going, damn. And when you have James LeGros as just the young kid in the back.
I had forgotten that was him, man. I'm like, hey, I know that guy.
And he's just sitting there going, he's frozen. He's like, he could have escaped, but he's just, all of them are like, oh my God, another person's been killed and I'm still in this room. Oh my God, that scene.
It's so good, man. I mean, that scene is also, once again, that's the scene I think of when I think of this movie. Brendan, as I'm starting to do on the show, and I think it's becoming a feature, do you want to know what other movies you could have seen October 1st, 1987, by the way, or sorry, October 2nd, 1987 is when this movie came out.
I do. What else came out?
Well, you also could have seen, weirdly enough, next week's movie, which is My Best Friend is a Vampire, a much lighter.
I did not see that in the theater because it looked like shit, but I think, catch it later on cable.
That's a much lighter-hearted vampire movie, but that interestingly came out the same weekend as this. You could have also seen Dudley Moore and Kirk Cameron in Like Father, Like Son.
I will embarrass myself by saying I did see that. I also saw Vice Versa.
I will say,
I saw all those body swap movies.
I was just about to say I'm a bigger Vice Versa fan. I think Vice Versa
is better.
Is much better. Yeah, I mean, I think Savage and Judge Reinhold. Now, I love Dudley Moore. Kind of meh about Kirk Cameron. But I think Savage.
He had some comedy chops before he decided that the Lord doesn't like.
Look, I was a big Growing Pains fan back in the day, and I thought he was fucking hilarious on that show as a kid. But
absolutely,
yeah. So you could have seen. You could have seen Funland.
Oh no, I did see that one later, but no, I didn't see that in the theater.
Zombie High, Rolling Vengeance, Creepazoids.
Later on cable.
Yeah. So lots, kind of a dumping ground for some of the schlock horror. It seems like that.
Well, you're heading into October, so you're heading into Halloween season, and they will very often use that as like, we're going to target people. They'll go see anything that has some gore, some monsters, a slasher.
Right. Let's see what were your holdovers though from the week before that you could have gone to. You could have seen Bestseller with James. Speaking of James Woods and Brian Dennehy.
I did see Bestseller.
I like Bestseller. That's pretty good.
Man, James Woods at this point, like mid late 80s, he's coming into his own, and the Oscars are noticing.
He's doing well. You could have seen the classic Jim Belushi, John Ritter buddy comedy, Real Men.
I did. I saw it in the theater.
Oh my God, that's a terrible movie.
It is, except for John Ritter is effortlessly entertaining in whatever
John
he
Ritter.
does.
I agree. I love John Ritter. He was the guy.
It's
was gold.
bad though.
And in its third week of release, I'll just say, for if you're a big horror fan, Hellraiser was still out in theaters at this point. So.
Hellraiser was a horror movie that actually worked on me, not as being scary, but everything that was Clive Barker had a sense of transgression about it. Yeah. It was disturbing.
It's unpleasant. Like that's how I feel. I'm not a fan of that franchise because
I read a couple of his novels and I saw a few of the movies based on his stuff. I never gravitated to him the way I did to Stephen King, but his stuff was always very Cronenberg-esque in body horror. It was always about not only is this a woman demon, it's a woman demon with teeth in her vagina, and it will and you're like, okay, all right, okay.
It's interesting. I'm a huge Cronenberg fan, and never got into Clive Barker. I always found his stuff. I think it's the combination of supernatural something. I like it better when it's the sci-fi body horror, maybe. I don't know. Sure. But the Clive Barker stuff I always found, whatever. I found it lurid in an unpleasant way for me personally.
But I mean, I know that was his purpose.
Yes,
so therefore,
yes.
I don't think he failed at all.
No,
it's
no,
like,
no, no, no.
Dude, you totally worked.
It's not
your
my
movies
thing.
make me uncomfortable.
I don't
your
think
novels make me uncomfortable.
Yeah, I don't think it's bad. I just go, I don't, I've seen the first 2 Hellraisers. I've never watched any other ones. Talk about when we get Elliot back on the show. I know they are a connoisseur of that franchise.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I did. I watched plenty of the Clive Barker films.
I've
more
seen
than
Lord
I
of
did
Illusions.
with,
I've seen. Did he do Nightbreed?
It's based on his yes. Nightbreed is based on his stuff.
I like Nightbreed. Actually,
he also, Lord of Illusions.
Yeah, Lord of Illusions
with Scott Bakula. Scott the Bakula. One of our favorite vampire stars.
I just love that guy.
He's very lovable.
Yeah. Let's talk about Near Dark. Let's get into this movie here.
We should, because it's a great movie.
Second feature film from director Kathryn Bigelow after The Loveless with Willem Dafoe was her debut.
Never saw it.
It's weird. It's kind of cool. A lot of the style is there, is what I'll say. It's definitely like working out the kinks and even lower budget than this. But you got young Willem Dafoe crushing it, as always. And,
nice.
Like I said, her style is very clear. Because she'll just explode from this movie into bigger Hollywood thrillers.
Yeah.
Because she does Blue Steel after this. And then, of course...
Wait, she invented Zoolander's signature move?
Yes. No. Of course, the classic Jamie Lee Curtis. Is it Ron Silver who's the bad guy in that?
Oh, yeah. Jamie Lee Curtis, female cop with something to prove.
Yeah, and Ron Silver is a psychopathic killer, I think, who is also, like, dating her, if I remember that correctly.
Sure, why not?
I think that's the plot of that movie. But then she makes one of my favorite movies, Point Break. So,
Point Break is for me a hangover movie.
Oh man,
it's dumb. To me, I don't like it. But I can watch it all day long.
That is top of the line to me. I think that is as good an action movie as anyone's made.
Okay. If it's just action movie, yes. As far as a movie with characterization, dialogue, or anything about it, other than that movie moves and it looks great.
Yeah.
And it has a couple of very good stars in it,
yeah,
saying some very dumb things because it's a dumb movie.
Well, it's 2 movie stars doing a movie star movie. Like, that movie is based on... It's Reeves and Swayze doing their movie star personas, man.
Don't you like when I come off all judgy? I know the people at home
And
do.
I just want to put in one mention for a movie that never gets talked about that she directed that I absolutely love, and that is Strange Days. Big fan of Strange Days. Written by James Cameron.
There's a lot to like in it. I don't know if it really holds together, but what a great cast. And it has its moments.
Yeah,
but I literally haven't thought of that probably since I saw it, though. So that's not a great sign. But I'm glad you're a big fan.
I'm a big fan of that.
She is an amazing director.
Yeah.
And again, given the right material, given the right stars,
of course. I mean, look, and then it's like she kind of disappears for a while, and then comes back with The Hurt Locker, and everybody's like,
"Yeah, I know that was
fuck.
Like a huge comeback for her, as if people had forgotten that she was an amazing director."
Yeah,
it's like, no, I never wasn't a great director. This is the first thing you've paid attention to.
When she comes back with the back-to-back Hurt Locker and Zero Dark 30, you're like, Jesus, holy God.
She suddenly becomes our go-to for like real-world military war film.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Yeah, man.
But she's very visceral, so that kind of thing does make sense.
Yes.
I mean, her movies are visceral.
I feel like that was kind of the thing about her, and still is to a certain extent, is like, she's the lady that makes not lady movies.
Yeah.
Which is unfair and awful and sexist. But I think that I'm not saying that personally. I'm saying like that was sort of the broad industry reaction to her, was sort of like, oh, she's like a girl who makes violent movies.
You're not incorrect. The whole idea is that in the gross generalization, people see women filmmakers, and again, I'm saying gross generalization and emphasis on the gross. They are always seen as like, oh, they'll do something sensitive, something that's heartbreaking. It'll have a lot of emotional heft. It'll have a lot of character work. And she makes really intense and well visualized, and as I said, visceral, because she doesn't shy away from anything.
No.
Action films, or in the case of those like Zero Dark 30, it's not really an action film. It is a military war picture that does have action in it.
Right.
But it's about consequence and this kind of thing. But you don't see anything in her style that seems to be the gross generalization of, boy, that's a female film director.
Right. She's not making Nora Ephron or Nancy Meyer movies, right? Like which is.
Though this does, I swear to God, just because it was a hop skip before, Thelma and Louise, I do love the fact that we do have two of our bad characters driving to their deaths and holding hands right before they die. I was like, oh, it's Thelma. Oh, except for they exploded. Oh, okay.
Somewhere in a movie theater, Ridley Scott was watching us going,
I wonder if...
Yeah, I wonder. But if it was two ladies and they were driving off a cliff instead. Yes, I'm sure that's how Ridley Scott just is stealing all kinds of shit from other movies.
That was an impeccable
it was Ridley
impression.
Scott? Yeah.
Yeah, it was like I was listening to him.
Because I just made him a sort of British gentleman. All right. Great opening shot in this movie. The mosquito drinking blood. Oh, what a nice, like, kind of artsy but on theme opening. This was the most interesting thing she said on the commentary, which is to do this opening shot, because a mosquito had to actually interact with an actor, they had to grow that mosquito themselves to make sure there was no disease or anything.
Wow. Yeah. Now my question is, did they actually kill it? Because there's like the hand comes down and then there's the smear. I figured they did a quick cut.
Yeah, Kathryn Bigelow didn't say anything about that. But I did think that was kind of interesting. But yeah, and then we get the hand coming and smashing it, and the hand belongs to the just so dreamy Adrian Pasdar.
This is young Adrian Pasdar.
I've always dug this guy.
Me too. I've always liked him. Yeah. I will say that here, just because we're going back in time, Adrian Pasdar, I don't know what his nationality or ethnicity is, but he is traditionally, in everything I've ever seen him in, he is even his eyes, the very heavy eyelashes, he's a dark person. Like, he's got these great dark brows. He always has black hair in the stuff you see him in because his eyelashes are black, and those brows. Here, I love that they're trying to make him a Texas good old boy. They have clearly dyed his hair. Yes. They have clearly tried to lighten it. So he has like sort of sandy ash brown hair. And I'm like, wow, that is not fitting.
Befitting the name Adrian Pasdar. I see this here. I've never looked it up before. He is of Iranian descent.
Okay.
Yeah, he is half Iranian, half German. His father Iranian, his mother German.
I will say he plays Texan just fine. And he
because the guy's a good actor. I mean, that's the thing about him.
He's a good actor, but it is just funny to me. I'm like, there's a couple of moments in it where they're like, they try to describe, they're talking to cops or whatever in descriptions, and I'm just like going, I think someone should clearly point out he's dyeing his hair.
But dad hair. Also considered for this role, Johnny Depp and D.B. Sweeney.
I actually think Johnny Depp too early in his career.
I also think Johnny Depp too much like one of the vampires.
Yeah.
Like he's a little
Though
too
they probably
dark.
would have done the same thing there. They probably would have dyed his hair.
Yeah, but also just Depp is so smoldering. I think Pasdar is better as the innocent, kind of thing. I mean, Depp's a good actor
D.B.
too.
Sweeney is actually probably closest physically to what they are trying to imply this guy is.
But I think, once again, they made the right choice, and I think Pasdar
they did. They did. I think this casting works totally well.
Like we talked about, across the board, the casting, I think.
No, we're about to get to a nitpick.
Oh, no. And is it these good old boys he meets up with here? No, I'm saying not.
One of them looks like, I swear to God, is like, oh my God, is that Michael Cera's older Texas twin?
Well, I do love this scene.
We don't see these guys ever again. They're only in the first
I love this
3
scene
minutes.
because this is Caleb. Adrian Pasdar is playing Caleb, and he drives into town, and he's just playing grab ass with these guys and fucking around. And you go like, this is probably what these cowboy guys in this small town.
Well, in a small town, and I like that it even starts off like. It's like, you trying to start something, and then you realize within a couple of seconds, these are old pals. It's just that they're so bored, they'll even pretend like a fake fight, and then just go, what are you up
There's
to?
There's not actually anyone to start a fight with in town. They have to pretend to fight each other, because they just... Yeah, you get what's nice about this scene is you just get that like nothing's happened in this town. These are pent up energy in these young dudes.
They found some good locations too. This feels very West Texas. I didn't grow up in West Texas.
I gotta see
but
where
West Texas is so flat.
This was shot almost entirely in Arizona.
Which is a very good stand-in for what we're talking about.
Yeah. No, it works. It once again it adds to one of the best things about this movie is the atmosphere of this movie. That really works. And another thing Kathryn Bigelow talked about was that she and co-writer was it Eric Red? Is that right?
Yeah, Eric
Red. They really wanted to write a Western and were told nobody's buying those. So they go, people like vampires. What if we kind of made like a Western with vampires?
Ding, ding, ding.
And that's what they hit here. Eric Red wrote another underrated movie that I'm not going to say it's like an amazing movie, but I really like Cohen and Tate with Roy Scheider.
I've never seen it. I am familiar with it, but I've never seen it.
That one's pretty good. And he's coming off of The Hitcher, which was a big hit. Before
The Hitcher.
Yeah.
That one I did see.
I do enjoy The Hitcher. It's total schlock like trash, but Rutger Hauer really takes that to another level.
It's one of those things where, again, you luck out with you get the right tone, because it does have a slightly campy tone to it.
Yes,
and then you get the right cast to it, then you can elevate what is a pretty simple and dumb story.
Yes. But that's another one where
even though I'm a writer, I will accept a simple and dumb story if they're doing it knowingly and elevating.
I think The Hitcher's a lot of fun. Like it's really any other subsequent ones they did can go to hell.
Oh Jesus, sequels. Why would you ever?
That remake in 2007. Oh Jesus Christ.
Never saw it.
Oh boy, who was that? Who did that? Sean Bean, who is a good actor. But come on, man.
Oh, come on. He ain't no Rutger.
Sean Bean and some kids from the CW do, The Hitcher.
Oh, boy.
Just gone like, and I
like The Fog with what's his name?
Tom Welling,
Yeah,
it's all in that era, all in the Platinum Dunes, Michael Bay. You remember Michael Bay's company that exclusively remade old horror movies? You get the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Well, it was trying to do weren't they also trying to do every William Castle movie for a long time? 13 Ghosts. No, House on Haunted Hill.
That wasn't Platinum Dunes. That was Joel Silver's company. That was like.
Right.
I can't remember what that one was called, but Joel Silver had a company where they were remaking Castle movies, and then.
But it was the same thing. Get pretty people off the CW.
Oh God,
and put them in.
That House on Haunted Hill remake pissed me off. Like, no, because I love the original.
And then you get House of Wax with Paris Hilton.
Yeah. And the guy from Supernatural,
Let's move on.
Yeah, let's get back to 1987 when things were good. So they all see the sexy girl walk out of a storefront with an ice cream cone, and oh man, heads.
She is a sexy girl, and we've reached Brendan's first nitpick.
Oh, is Jenny Wright your first nitpick?
I love Jenny Wright.
Yeah.
I love her as a presence in films of the 80s.
Sure.
She is a longtime film crush for me. However, she's not a very good actor. I'm sorry. She's just not.
I mean, I think
she does
all
fine
right
here. She does fine in a lot of the things I know her from. But mainly, she's one of those that it is about her look and her appeal. Mm-hmm. And that those are undeniable. It's just that don't give her too much weight because she can't really pull it off. I don't know what her life ended up being, but you look at her IMDb credits and they really drop off after a while. She pretty much ditched after a while.
She did, yeah. I don't know what became of that. I don't know if it was around this time that she's involved with Nicolas Cage.
Right.
Yeah, they were a Hollywood couple, and a couple of young hot people of the time.
I will say that she is.
They say she's
undeniable...
a frequent guest of horror conventions. Obviously,
right.
Frequently goes with Lance Henriksen to conventions together.
I like the way you call him Henriksen.
Isn't that right? That's what I've always.
You're putting an I in there. It's just Henriksen.
Oh man, I've always heard it pronounced as Henriksen. Lance Henriksen.
It could be pronounced that way, but I've always heard it pronounced Henriksen, and there's no I.
Oh, let me look at this, because then then I've been hearing it wrong for a long time.
Just reach out to his people and get a definitive on that and get back to us, okay?
Just, I'll make a note for myself. Call Lance.
Anyway, I will say she takes nothing away from this movie. My nitpick is only that she's just not solid enough to pull this off. She is ethereal and sylph-like. Ooh, I'm throwing out some big English words.
Jesus Christ, man, yeah.
But, and she is someone that I would gladly give up my mortality for, but she just doesn't really deliver.
Man, I think I mean, to me, she really works in this movie. Now, I can't say I've seen her in many other movies. I have seen Young Guns too. She
has a very memorable bit part in Pink Floyd's The Wall.
Yes, that's certainly like one of the things that when you talk about known for. Oh, The World According to Garp, I have seen that.
And she's probably that's the best thing she ever did as far as like. She raised her game, and she's quite good. But it's another character similar to May.
Yeah.
Be an ethereal female that someone would just become sort of this iconic, I have to be with that person girl. A dream girl. She plays dream girls, and she does it
but that's what
well.
I'm saying. That's why I think she does work here as this ethereal, otherworldly, inhuman figure.
I will also say the writing doesn't help them very much because my nitpick at the very beginning of the movie, and I have not stated how much I love this movie?
Yeah.
But, I mean, talk about, hi, who are you? We're in love.
No, I agree with that. I agree with that. That is the one point where I do think the lean, sparse nature of the movie is undercut. And that's also why I think...
15 or 20-minute drive to, like, wherever she lives, they have essentially become Romeo and Juliet and will love each other forever.
And I'm usually willing to give stuff like that for, like, younger characters, young lovers and stuff. It's like, Gergoni and I got in a big argument on Panel Up about West Side Story. He goes, why don't they fall in love instantly? I'm like, that's baked into the plot, man. I don't know.
It's baked into Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah, but I do think
Shakespeare's a much better writer.
I do think though that's where also really pitching this as a romance is a weird choice because I don't think it delivers on that front. Other than we accept it, I buy that.
We accept it, and
it needs to happen for the story to occur.
And there are scenes of genuine tenderness that play well, except for you're just like, I just don't know where the bond came from. Because she's just been picked up by a guy, and he's handsome, and she's very pretty.
It just seems like this is the first person who's ever been nice to her once ever. Like,
I will say, I'm glad, and it does help that the plot later on lets you know that she's only been a vampire for about 4 years.
Yes, she's not
and it's
as
like,
old
okay,
as the other ones. Yeah.
Yes, if she was like centuries old, there's no way she'd run into just random handsome teenager and go,
right,
you are the love of my life.
Right.
I'm sorry, you've been around for centuries, and you think this guy with his nice hat and his truck are just the dreamiest?
Yeah, they don't do that. That does work in their favor.
She's essentially right out of high school, and that makes she's a lot more sense.
She's basically the same age as him, essentially, like roughly,
maybe a couple years older.
Yeah, it's not the Twilight or Buffy the Vampire Slayer thing.
No, and Twilight makes that even more egregious. We'll talk about that.
We'll get there, man. I was going to say, I was looking at Jenny Wright's IMDb here, and I go, oh, she reteamed with Bill Paxton. Oh, no, she's in a different Twister. A not as good Twister from 1989.
You're just, bringing so many things to light for me. I had no idea there were sequels to Twister.
Oh, no, there's no sequel to it. This was made before Twister.
Oh,
this is just a different movie.
This is the other movie called Twister. Yes.
Yeah, with Harry Dean Stanton and Susie Amos and Crispin Glover.
Yeah, it's a
weirdly good cast. Dylan McDermott.
I remember. I didn't watch it, but I'm familiar with it. Yes.
Well, the poster is like a family on a couch being lifted into the air by a twister, but they're all like
and they're just sitting there on the couch.
Yeah,
Crispin Glover's all weirded out. Imagine that in a wig.
What?
Yeah.
She was in I of course have seen Lawnmower Man, which is a terribly insane movie. Terrible movie, but so
luckily
weird.
We will not be covering that.
No. Stephen King's Lawnmower Man, although not now because he's soon to have his name taken off of, and rightfully won.
Good for you, Steve.
Okay, so this is where this though when they get out, she makes him stop and they get out, and she's like, "Can you feel the night?"
So basically, the hot chick is like, he's like, what are you up to? Where are you from? Are you new in town? She's like, yeah, I haven't been here long. I'm just with friends, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, I sure
But
could
not
use
a
a ride
boyfriend.
home.
She makes that very clear. Not a boyfriend. Because she's like,
right.
I'm traveling with friends. He goes, a boyfriend? No, friends.
Just friends.
And
he's like,
open and ready for business.
And she's like, I just need a ride home. He's like, no problem. Get in my truck. And then at some
that's
point.
That's believable. That's huge. You know, up to that point, I'm like, yep.
And then she forces him to stop in the middle of one of those great sort of long highways where there's absolutely nothing going on in the middle of the desert.
Yep.
And she goes, do you hear it?
Yeah.
And he's like, hear what? The night. It's so loud.
Yeah.
Again, the dialogue's pretty cheesy.
Well, but this is all on par for a vampire movie for me at this point.
Sure.
This kind of dialogue.
And he's like, I'm sorry, I don't hear it. And she's like, oh, God, whatever. Okay.
And she talks about... She does some line about, like, see the stars, they'll still be there, or whatever. I'll still be alive. She has some line where she implies she's going to be alive forever.
This one I like. It's a vampire line. She goes, I look at that one up there. It's a billion light years away, whatever. She goes, the thing is, though, I'll still be here when the light from that star gets here. And you're like, well, technically you already are because you're seeing it.
Yeah.
But he goes, well, that sounds like a long, lonely time. And she's like, yeah. So she's just like, I'm immortal. You're going to die.
I mean, this
and
movie,
I'll be here when those stars die or whatever.
This movie does play on a lot of classic vampire tropes, but it does them well. Two things. I do think the loneliness of the vampire life.
Yep.
More so with Homer than her.
Also the pointlessness of it, because this really zeroes in on, unless you're Dracula and you're trying to take over the living world, vampires are just wandering predators. And if you're immortal, your life only consists of meeting people for short periods of time and draining them. It's like, wow, vampirism is a very empty life.
Well, and the big thing, of course, that I always do enjoy is the addiction metaphor with the vampire thing about it is just once you're hooked.
And this movie goes hard into it.
Yes, it does. But I
think
this is
the quickest into vampire infections you'll ever see. But it's also one of the most drawn out transformation times.
Yes, which I think all works in. It's just nice to have a movie that is so quickly paced on the show, because it's
not going to make you sit there going, wait,
no,
this is all stuff that I'm coming to after watching this thing a million times.
That's it, exactly. And when you're talking about your nitpicks aren't coming, a lot of them are going to come. Not you don't have time to think about them in the movie.
This movie carries you along.
Yes, it really does. It really does. So they get back in the car and they're making. Oh well, she goes, what time is it? I got to be home by dawn. Of course she does.
He's like, oh, your daddy's he's not going to let you out. And then he starts playing in there's some problematic stuff, which is evidenced by the sirens outside my window. Sorry, everybody. But
we're getting arrested for talking about this movie. Oh.
But it is like, he's like not rapey, but he's kind of like going, what happens if I just take the keys out? What if I don't get you home on time?
Yeah,
what if I make you give me a kiss to get you all the way home? And she's like, fucker, you don't understand. He's like, come on, just a little kiss.
But the thing that does, once again, make it's problematic, but it's problematic in a realistic, like, teenage boy way. Not in I'm going to force myself on you.
And she knows what it's about, too. She's not sitting there going, you beast. She's into him, too. I'm not saying that makes everything okay.
No.
But it's just that she goes, all right.
Some movies from this era you watch and go, ooh. Here, you don't have that, like, oh, my God.
So she kisses him here, and you see the big thing is her temptation, and she plays this well. I mean, she kind of strokes the neck, and she's like, do I do it? I don't know.
There's blood
and then finally she goes on into it, gives him a bite, and he's like, ow.
Yeah. But also kind of like, ow.
Yeah, it's kind of the sexy ow.
Well, it's a thing where it's like when she kind of first bites him, he's like, oh. Then it's like, oh, wait, no, that really does hurt.
Oh, you actually opened a vein.
Yeah.
And when she pulls away, I do like this movie goes, it's not Hammer and clean, even though Hammer did start putting blood in.
Oh, this is
like, she's got the smeary mouth.
Yeah.
And he's got like a full-on wound and it's bleeding on his neck. And then she runs. Yeah. Then she's like, I got to get home before dawn.
But she runs off. He chases her for like a couple steps, and he's like, and he does end the scene with, some kiss.
Yeah, like, whoa. And then when he gets back in the truck, tries to start it up.
No dice.
Yeah, battery's dead, and he's out in the middle of nowhere, so he decides he's going to walk home.
But he less walks by the time we see him get out into the fields and stuff, as he's stumbling around as the sun comes up.
So what we've discovered is, in this movie, a vampire bites you, and you're just infected.
Yeah.
It's instantaneous. That doesn't make you a vampire immediately, but you are already turning.
Yes.
If you don't drink from them, I think that was the thing. Is like,
yeah.
No, yeah. She goes, I bit him and didn't drink from him.
Yeah.
And they're like, great, you made one of us now.
Yeah.
So he stumbles home, and that's where we meet his dad and his sister, who are pointless characters but important to the plot. And luckily, we have Tim Thomerson giving some gravity to the role of the dad. He's apparently a veterinarian, like a ranch veterinarian.
They're plot devices, right? They are merely representative of home and a human life.
Right, and someone has to go looking for him, and then they do use the sister to an interesting advantage later.
The sister is more important than the father, at least plot-wise,
But he's given a horse a shot or something, and she's like, hey, Caleb's coming home, and he doesn't look too good. He looks sick, and the dad's like, what now?
He doesn't
and
just
Caleb
look
is
sick.
Staggering.
Smoke is coming off of this guy.
I do like the fact that, I mean, they took advantage of when you're out there in the dry desert, they probably didn't have to do too much of the smoke effect because just that dry dust kicks up and it looks like you're smoking.
I was still watching the commentary at this point when she talked about this. They had a machine under his jacket putting some smoke out, but then they backlit the shot, obviously, so that they didn't actually have to put out that much smoke.
She just knows how to do this stuff. So it looks good, but he is staggering and smoking as it is early morning, and then he doesn't even make it all the way home, John.
No,
because there's a Winnebago on
a big
his
old
ass.
Winnebago from hell, as Kathryn Bigelow referred to it on the commentary. Rolls up, and man, I love this, and I love the driving through just the slat in the thing. I mean,
because the windows of this thing are black painted over, and there's a foil up in the driver's.
This is maybe
windshield.
My favorite thing about Near Dark is the procedural nature of surviving as a vampire.
Well, this movie, again, I love that about the vampire mythos. People take what they want. Some vampire movies are like, daylight will affect them, and it hurts them, and they stay out in it long enough, it will burn them. This movie is, if they even get just a little, they're charred. If they get even more, if they get like a minute in the sun, they explode.
These things go up, man, and I love.
So Near Dark is leaning on daylight is the number one. There are no stakes in this movie whatsoever. There's not any holy water or stakes. There is just the sun.
Yeah, and fire.
Well, I guess that's pretty definitive if you explode.
No, but I was going to say that Bill Paxton doesn't get it by sunlight. He gets blown the hell up.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Though I guess you could have done a sequel. Like, what if that didn't do it?
Yeah.
What if he somehow recovers from that before the sun
if you made Near Dark now, you would see Bill Paxton piecing himself back together in a mid-credit scene.
Oh, God, stop bringing up that we lost Bill Paxton. Anyway.
I know. Every day, man. There's not a day goes by I don't think about Bill Paxton. That's a little hyperbolic, but not that hyperbolic, because I really do think he was a real rarity of a guy who could be a good guy, a bad guy, a leading man, a character actor. He could just do literally anything. His inner energy, similar to a Nicolas Cage,
is something that is primal. It gets unleashed, and he just lights up the fucking screen.
He really does.
And he can do it as a funny, as you say, he can do it as just a comedic lead or a romantic lead. But you give him something that's crazy, you give him something that's evil, and Jesus Christ, watch out.
I mean, even down to like one of his last roles in a movie I love, Edge of Tomorrow. He's great as the fucking hillbilly kind of, drill instructor there. Pal, you better watch your ass. And he's just committed like nobody's business. He never lost that.
No, that guy, again, he couldn't. I mean, even in shit movies, he could not phone it in.
Yep. It was incapable, man.
Did you ever see Frailty?
Oh, of course I saw Frailty. I love Frailty.
Yeah, that one. Man.
Directed by Bill Paxton as well.
Yeah. That's highly recommended, guys.
Yes.
If you haven't seen it.
Yes.
It does fit sort of under a horror banner, but it's much more.
It's a grounded horror movie, and it's all the more disturbing for its grounded nature.
And it's a movie that has Bill Paxton, Powers Booth, and Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah.
And if you haven't already stopped this podcast to go watch it,
I remember that coming out.
It's not a masterpiece. It's just so good.
It's really good. I wish he had directed more.
Yeah.
And I think I've mentioned One False Move on here before too, which I
One False Move.
I love that. I love One False Move. I love A Simple Plan.
Simple Plan. Come on.
Yeah. I mean, we could go all day because the guy did that. I mean, the one thing that we can say is we lost him too soon. But boy, did he leave a body of work. Like
he did.
You know, even something like Twister, which is as big a budget studio blockbuster, he and Helen Hunt are great in it. You know,
they are,
Good
and
cast.
that is one of those. That's a hangover movie because it is beyond dumb.
Yeah, but really good cast.
Good actors in this thing, and you're like, I guess I care now.
Yeah.
I guess I care about Storm Chasers.
The effects are good, and it's a really fun movie, if not a great one by any means.
Mm-hmm.
But,
and there are flying cows.
Yes.
All right, moving on.
Yeah. So they grab him. Bill Paxton's first line in this movie, man. Come on. Where I have it, I just had it right here. Howdy. I'm gonna separate your head from your shoulders. Hope you don't mind none. And he's got his weapon of choice are the spurs on his boots. Come on, that's so cool.
Oh, God. This came out in 87, and Raising Arizona was out in, what, 85, 86?
Yeah, about that same time, yeah.
There's one thing that I would love to hear Bigelow admit whether or not it was a callback. Because when, when they blow up the...
same year, both 87.
Both 87. Okay.
Yeah.
When they blow up the biker in Raising Arizona,
yes.
the
Randall Tex Cobb.
Randall Tex Cobb, and you see the baby rattle come off and it lands smoking, but also his spurs, and they make the noise when they hit. And then this thing has Bill Paxton blown up, and then his spur hits the ground. I was like,
I think
it was the year of spurs hitting the ground.
I think we're looking at parallel thinking. I don't think they could have known what each other were doing.
I guess not, but they're both great movies.
They're both. Oh, I love.
So yes, Adrian Pazdar, poor sick Caleb, has been pulled into this Winnebago. There's a group of weirdos in there, and Bill Paxton is blithely saying, "I'm going to separate your head from your shoulders."
Yeah.
And Adrian Pazdar's like, "I don't know what the fuck is going on," but there's May. The cutie, she's in there too.
Well, she gets right down on the ground with him and goes, "If you're gonna kill him, you have to kill me first, or whatever." You know.
Yeah, she lays across his body and tells Bill Paxton's character Severin, if you're gonna do it, you're gonna have to kill me too.
And everybody,
and then it all becomes everyone like.
Everyone is like, "Oh God."
Well, yeah, the Ma and Pa, who are Jesse and Diamondback. They're like, "Oh, I don't want to deal with this." And Homer essentially is going to side with May because May was the one he turned. Right. And he's like, okay.
Oh,
you heard the lady, back off of this guy.
Let's talk about this kid for a second, because
I had to look him up because I wanted to make sure he turned out okay, and I'm glad that he did.
Joshua Miller.
He was an iconic 80s character.
Oh, God, yeah, absolutely. And always with this air of creepiness to him, though, to me.
Yeah. He was a good child actor whose specialty was being either rude, gross, overly mature, or just fucking creepy.
Hey, his screen debut was in an episode of The Greatest American Hero.
Perfect.
Yeah. No, but
he was in River's Edge.
Yeah, he just coming off of River's Edge when he does this.
Near Dark. He ended up being the weird, it makes perfect sense, weird kid brother in Teen Witch.
That's the other one I think. When I think of this kid, I think of him from this and Teen Witch. And actually, as I look at this, of course, also a great episode of The Wonder Years he did, where he's like the bad kid that they hang out with. Like the kid who seems cool at first, but then the more you hang out with him, you're like, oh no, he's like legit dangerous.
Yeah. And that's like 3 years after he did this.
Yeah, he's older in that. I think he's pretty much retired from acting, but I see he has a screenwriting career now.
Yep, he's been writing some. It looks like.
I loved The Final Girls. This movie he wrote. I thought that was great. Really fun. Really fun twist on slasher movie conventions. With Malin Ackerman. Really
cool.
Very, very fun movie. Malin Ackerman and Taissa Farmiga.
The kid sister who's on Gilded Age.
You got great actors in it though. You got Middleditch is in it, Alia Shawkat, Adam Devine. You know,
that's a great cast.
I highly recommend it, Brendan. It is very good. The Final Girls is very fun, especially if you're a horror fan. He has a show called Queen of the South that he's the showrunner on now. But this guy, I also know, just very fun. This is a very close friend of Leonardo DiCaprio's. Joshua Miller.
He's in the
Pussy Posse. Yes, he sure is. He's a key member of the Pussy Posse. Because
here's the thing. I'm just glad because you often hear about these kid actors, and sadly you hear a lot about kid actors from the 80s.
Yep.
That just took a nosedive. I'm not saying the man I have no idea what his life was like, but I'm just glad he's still alive.
Yeah.
And doing well.
He's about to make his directorial debut as well with a movie he wrote starring Russell Crowe and David Hyde Pierce and Adrian Pasdar.
Nice.
Oh, that's great. Oh, and Samantha Mathis, who needs to be in more stuff.
Holy shit.
She's great.
Did you see this? That he's the half sibling of Jason Patric?
I did not see that. Interesting. There's a connection to Lost Boys now.
He's the son of Jason Miller.
Yes.
From The Exorcist.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard Jason Patric talk about that.
I didn't see this as far as his family background. Holy mackerel.
I've heard Jason Patric talk about his complicated relationship with his very distant father, but I did not know this kid was related in there. And also is it Jason Patric who's also the grandson of Jackie Gleason?
Oh, I think so.
Because he talked.
Wow, what a family!
Yes, that's it exactly. Well, he talked about though Jackie Gleason wanted basically nothing, like fuck off. Is what Jason, because they said like they always struggled with money, and I heard him on a podcast, and they said like, well, didn't Jackie Gleason take care of his kids? He's like, no, he never saw any of that money. He made a point of being like, I'm not giving you, that's my money, baby. And so he let his kids kind of be destitute because he's just like, hey, I made that money, not you. So Jason Patric did not have nice things to say about Jackie Gleason.
But what a family!
I know,
it turns out that his co-showrunner, I'm reading his trivia. Yeah. His co-showrunner on Queen of the South is his romantic partner, Mark Alexander.
Nice.
So that show that he's doing is like this, like a partnership thing with his partner.
That's awesome.
So again, I'm just happy that this guy who leaves an impression. Any of these films we've mentioned, if you've seen him in it, you remember him. He was an odd presence, and I mean that in a good way. Because he's very good. He is very good as Homer in this movie.
I'm just realizing, you said his partner is Mark Fortin, so maybe less interested in the...
No, Mark Alexander.
Yeah. Mark Alexander Fortin. M.A.
Oh,
Fortin.
Yeah.
But I'm saying maybe he was less interested in the pussy as the rest of the Pussy Posse?
He may have been sort of a...
Yeah.
You know...
He's there like too, man.
Wingman.
Yeah. Dude, this guy went to Yale. I mean, he's the farthest thing from a troubled teen star, it seems like. I mean, I don't know if he had some years where he was angry and bitter or something, but at least it didn't seem to destroy his life, you know.
We've really rabbit-holed on him, but he's
a guy I haven't thought about beyond these movies. And
he's an indelible presence, and I would
made.
love to read an autobiography of his. So if you're listening, get that book out because
I'm excited
just
about
your family alone I'm fascinated by, but I'd love to hear about your life.
Absolutely. This guy seems very interesting. And I said I really enjoyed the Final Girls.
Final Girls. Yeah, I will be checking that out.
Excellent movie. Did he? No, he just wrote it. Yeah, like I said, he's making it, but he's directing something now, which is very cool. So anyway, and I love him in this movie. Homer is this. I mean, he certainly is. I almost said he's certainly not sympathetic because he's a murderer just like they are, and that's one of the things I love about these vampires. These vampires are murderers. They aren't just drinking blood. They murder people because they seem to like to murder people. It's a.
Well, they have had enough time as vampires, with the exception of May, but she seems fairly on board. I don't know if she deserves too much sympathy at the end of the movie. I'm like, you were pretty much just killing people too.
It seems like she at least though is like I don't know, like it. I guess this is what's happening, and I'm with.
There's
these people.
That vampire thing here of they see themselves as not greater than humans. They just see themselves as like, well, these are our food.
Right.
These people, they've been around long enough. They're like, you gonna form attachments? Why?
Yeah.
They're our food. So it's this brutal pragmatism that also, in this case of a couple of personalities, gives away to just hedonistic joy in slaughter.
Yeah.
Which makes them very visceral vampires.
Some of them they just shoot to death without even drinking from. They're just shooting people.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. And actually it's Homer who guns that guy down in the bar.
We never get real ages on them.
Yeah.
But Paxton calls Homer the old man.
And actually Henriksen does too at one point.
Yeah.
Which is great.
And
we know Henriksen at least goes back to the Civil War. So how old is Homer?
We get the idea that Jesse is next oldest.
Yeah.
And he turned Severin.
Yeah.
We don't know where Diamondback came into play.
No, we get little about her. Did you see Henriksen came up with an entire biography for his character?
No, but I would love to look it over.
I have some beats of it here. The origin story he came up with was that Jesse was in the Confederate Navy when he became a vampire. Henriksen painted his hair black with tar, since that was an actual thing seamen did in the 1800s. He then added broken fake nails to make his fingers look like the extensions of his finger bones, and went to town at night like that while in character. He managed to scare a waitress in a Denny's and a hitchhiker twice his size he picked up on the road one night. The hitchhiker quickly asked to leave the car as soon as they drove up to the first inhabited area. So Henriksen, without revealing that he was just an actor messing with the guy, gave the man all $80 he had on him for being a good sport.
That is okay. Good to know that Lance is keeping that crazy method thing alive.
Yeah. He was the Jared Leto of his day, I guess. But I love the detail of, well, I'll paint my hair black with tar because that's something they would have done.
Yeah, but you're not in the Civil War anymore, Jesse.
No, that's what doesn't quite make sense about it, right? Is like that guy he's just like, well, that's how we did it back then, baby.
Yeah, but I'll say this to you, Lance. Jesse probably wouldn't have given himself a braided rat tail, which you clearly have in the movie.
No, well, actually, in some of my readings on the...
He looks great. It's a great look, and I love that he has a permanent scar.
And the nails are a great touch, which is very vampire-y, which I do love.
The nails are great, but they did that scar, which is great looking.
Cool
and his character name, Jesse Hooker, is just a great...
I mean, just once
Southern
again,
vampire
the
name.
aesthetics and the vibe of this movie are really one of the things that
they are. At least some of them are centuries old or a century or so old.
Yeah,
and yet they've clearly kept up with some fashions. Diamondback has got this great big poofy bleached hairdo.
Jeanette Goldstein. It's so cool because this is a million miles away physically, personality-wise, from Vasquez and Aliens. Like. She's
another tough chick.
She's another tough chick, but she's feminine in a way that Vasquez is so androgynous to the point of being just one of the Marines. Might as well be one of the men. And
they do allow her to be the mother of the group, even though Homer is older than all of them. She still takes this like maternal concern with him, and I mean it's great. Yeah. They all thought their characters through, and it's evident, even if they don't have a lot of dialogue, and she really doesn't.
No.
But she is a full-blown character. We know a lot about her by the time she blows up.
Well, from the sound
we know her preference of weapons. She's the knife gal, and she's deadly with it.
She can throw the knife. She can slice with the knife. It's very cool. Clearly, Kathryn Bigelow let these actors really decide a lot about their characters, obviously, if Henriksen's doing all that shit. You know, and then you've got like punk cowboy Bill Paxton.
Yeah,
who
has like a pair of 6 guns. They're very much I don't know how vintage, but they're very much like Colts. They're Wild West. Yeah, and he's constantly
peacemakers. Yeah,
he's constantly twirling them. I mean, it's like with him, you get the impression, oh, okay, so sometime after the Civil War, probably Jesse comes across this guy, and this is probably in the Wild West.
Probably a wannabe Billy the Kid or Jesse James kind of figure. Yeah, and it just and they don't tell you any of that in the movie, but you can pick it up. That's what good, design, costume, hair, look, makeup, all that kind of stuff can do. And
then what they're bringing to it, because it is also in their characterizations. You can see the characters without knowing those backstories.
And of course, Paxton was a good Texas boy, so he brings that into it naturally, no matter what.
Jesus God, we've got to get to that scene. But anyway, essentially, the vampires are upset that May has partially turned this guy because they don't need another mouth to feed.
Yeah,
but
that's less blood for the rest of us.
She likes Caleb.
Yeah.
And so they go, we'll give him a chance.
Right. Well, we're going to bring him in a trial capacity.
They also, and this is not brilliant, but I like that Winnebago, but they pretty much immediately torch it.
Yeah. Well, there were witnesses to it. They're going to be looking for it.
Yeah. So they constantly change vehicles, and they apparently find lots of like bivouac kind of empty storage.
Yeah.
Hangar type things all around Texas.
That all adds to this thing I said I like about the procedural nature of surviving as an outlaw vampire. Like, it's just like, these are the kinds of dwellings you look for. You have to switch vehicles. You can't draw attention to yourself, although they draw a ton of attention to themselves because they're dumb. They're really bad at being vampires, actually.
It actually, by the end of it, if you're really looking at the story, you're like going, how did they survive more than like 5 years as a vampire?
It's like there's no striking from the shadows. These people tend to prefer a public massacre,
Though I want them to be that way because it's so great. And I do think that scene in the hotel is one of my favorites when he checks in and he's just watching the sun creep across the desk. And then the guy's like, you look familiar. You've been around here before. And he goes, I try to get back this way every 50 years or so.
Yeah.
So love good. That.
So Caleb, at one point, once they go to this abandoned, it's like a train depot or whatever where they're first staying here.
Oh, I got one more line of dialogue I got to drop, and this was painful. I like a lot of those, like, we're old vampire drop lines because it makes it like, this is our life.
Yeah.
But then they do something real on the nose stupid, like they light up the Winnebago, and Bill Paxton's character says in ADR, hey, Jesse, this reminds me of that time we started that fire in Chicago.
Yeah.
Like, these two vampires started the Great Chicago Fire.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a little, like, come on, guys.
Well, that feels like that was added later because it's an ADR, too, so I don't know what that...
That's true. It may have been like, we need to do something here.
Yeah.
It's not enough just to show them torching the Winnebago.
Wouldn't it be great if you found out later he actually wasn't referring to the Great Chicago? It was just a different fire.
It's just another fire in Chicago.
It was actually a fairly small blaze.
I was just thinking about it. Yeah. You remember that one?
Like if Paz had been like, you guys started... Oh, God, no, not that one. That wasn't us. That's where my mind always goes. I love the undercutting jokes. I just am a sucker.
Reminds me of the time we tanked the stock market in 29. You remember that?
It's like, really? You caused the Great
Depression? Shaping human history from behind the scenes this whole time.
That's the kind of thing I don't like. I don't want them to have like them fighting the Civil War is one thing, but them actively causing major events.
Yeah,
I
know.
Like, remember that time we shot Kennedy?
Homer, do you remember that time you invented the light bulb and you handed it off to that Edison feller?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that kind of thing where I just going like, I don't need the Zelig nature of, and we were there, Though I do like...
Remember that time we saved President Grant?
Yeah, although I do like Magneto having accidentally killed Kennedy in Days of Future Past.
Sure.
That was cool.
It was good.
Yeah. So they... but Caleb goes like, hey, look, man, I just got to get home, all right? I don't want any part... So he starts walking into town.
Right. And when May says... You're free to go, but you're not going to get very far. And he's like, yeah, well, okay. I still, this isn't for me. See you later.
Now, when he does walk through town,
he looks horrible.
When he walks through town, though, what is on the marquee of the movie theater behind him?
See you next Wednesday?
No, it's Aliens. Aliens is being shown at the movie theater behind
Actually,
him.
I didn't catch that. I was looking at the marquee as in the name of the theater, which was Warner.
Sorry. What's being shown at the theater is Aliens.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so there's a little shout out to Jim Cameron.
They were still on speaking terms at that point.
They are actually not yet married at this point.
Right.
They'll get married in 89. They were not married long. I think they were married from like 89 to 91. That burned hot and fast, man. And she's never remarried.
Wow.
Yeah. Though I think there's a lot of rumbling she might have been and might still be involved with Mark Bowl, who wrote Hurt Locker and Zero Dark 30 and Detroit.
Look, we're not here to spread gossip.
We're not.
And rumors.
I always loved Kathryn Bigelow because also she made these cool movies and she's gorgeous and tall.
Oh, yeah.
She's like 6 feet tall, too.
She is a tall drink of water.
I also think that further adds to like, wait a minute now. She makes action movies and she's pretty? This is all wrong.
All right. Okay, this is taking a turn into John's writing an open letter. Dear Kathryn, I don't know if you'd ever be interested in a younger gentleman.
Quite a bit younger. I looked her up. I was surprised. She's 70 years old.
But still cooking.
Oh, it just looks great. I'm just going she started later than a lot of people do in movies, I think is what I'm getting.
It's true. And I can only imagine when you see pictures of her on set. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that you have to be tall statured, but she looks commanding. When you see her like pictures of her behind the camera and she's directing. I mean, Scorsese's a tiny little dude, but his aura emanates. Yes. In the case of her, she's a giant.
Especially if you look at like Hurt Locker and she's out in the desert in the camo with the military hat
and the
glasses
stuff that keeps the sun off the back there.
Exactly, and you're like, holy shit, she's leading a battle somewhere, you know? That does help. So yeah, let's see. So he takes off. He gets into town. He goes to the bus station, and oh my god, this guy at the bus station is just no heart on this guy at all.
Well, what we have is Adrian Pasdar hasn't turned but it's affecting his biology, so he looks terrible, and he still has some burning left from the initial him walking through the whatever in the daylight.
He looks like a junkie,
he looks
right?
like a junkie. Yeah, he's twitching and he's drooling.
Yeah,
and he's like, "How much to get back to this town in Oklahoma where I live?" And he goes, "Well, it's going to be about $14." And he counts out his money. He only has $11. And yes, the guy behind the counter is like going, "Oh, that's a shame. You're only $3 short." He's like, "Oh, come on, man." He's like going, "Yeah, you're $3 short of a ticket. Isn't that a shame?"
It's like one of those things where you go like, wouldn't the easier thing just be to let it slide and get this guy out of your hair?
That is what you're thinking. But instead he goes...
Boy, this guy is such a rule follower.
And there's no one's buying tickets in the middle of the night.
That's the other thing. There's nothing happening.
There's nothing happening.
And he's like, sorry.
But he goes over. Adrian Pasdar's like, well, his stomach growls, and he's like, I am very hungry. Mm-hmm. He gets a candy bar out of a machine.
Yeah.
There goes some of that $11. Mm-hmm. And he takes one bite and he throws up because he can't do that solid food no more. He doesn't know.
No. And I didn't even know this guy's name, Troy Evans, but God, do I know his face.
Oh, you know his face because he's been in everything, and R.I.P. I think he passed away a few years ago, didn't he?
No, still alive and still very much a regular character on Bosch on Amazon. So,
good. Yeah. He's always had a buzz cut. He was born with a buzz cut.
No, he's had the same look forever. And this is a perfect use of him. He always works as a cop or a military guy or something like this, and just, what are you doing here, son?
And he is also one of those characters where, with just one little tweaking of his persona, because he doesn't have a huge range that I've seen, but with just a little tweaking of his persona, he can use the exact same personality, and it works in comedies, and it works in dramas.
Absolutely.
And he doesn't have to bend much one way or the other.
No, because once again, he's not a chameleon by any stretch of the imagination. He's looked exactly the same my whole life. And yes, I know what you're wondering, Brendan. He did play Bibbo on Lois and Clark: The New Adventures of Superman.
Well, I would love to pretend like that was a surprise to me, but it wasn't because I knew he did.
Yeah. But it's just one of those where it's like, of course he did.
He was a great walk-on in Demolition Man where he played tough cop.
Yep.
But I actually do remember him.
I do. That's the thing is,
even though his character had no name.
He has no name in this movie.
Oh, that's true.
He's just plainclothes cop.
He was Sheriff Perry in The Frighteners.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a movie that I do wish we were covering, but it doesn't fit.
Oh, God, I love that movie.
Frighteners is great.
I love that movie. He's in 129 episodes of ER. I definitely remember him from that.
Yes, yeah, he is because one of his personality aspects is the lovable gruff guy. Like when he's sweet natured instead of being a dick, he's lovable, and he was a very lovable character on ER.
Yes, he was. He kind of walks that line actually here because he's like, "What are you on, son?"
Yeah, he starts out as a tough cop, and he's like going, "What are you on? Are you on drugs?" He's like, "Look, I am just trying to get home. I'm $3 short." And he goes, "Yeah," and he looks at his ID. That's important because he'll be the guy who recognizes that he saw him.
Key in this scene is he's got the cop has a bandaged hand with some blood leaking through, and it's subtle. They don't like do a close up. It's just he's got his hand on him, and Pazdar just kind of looks over and clocks it and keeps kind of looking back.
Yeah, the cop has a bandaged hand that isn't explained, but obviously there was some sort of wound, so there's some blood. And Pazdar, it's very subtle. Pazdar just like his eyes just go to it, like, oh Jesus, am I?
Yeah,
that smells good.
It's weird. I kind of want that.
But the cop pulls out the remaining $3 and he's like, "Get home and also get out of my town."
Also, hey, good police work here. You know,
very good.
No reason to bust this guy. That will accomplish nothing. Just go. You know what? If you want to go home then. Yeah. Yep. It gets you out of town, but it's not needlessly. Sorry, as I get off my liberal soapbox about the war on drugs, but
well, we won it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Pazdar, Caleb is on the bus. It's the middle of the night, and he's still not feeling good. He's feeling even worse. So he only gets a few miles, and he's like, "Pull the bus over. I have to get off."
And he stumbles out of the bus,
and
back.
then he's going to walk back, and he does.
He does, and May accepts him and lets him drink from her.
Yeah, this is maternal-ish. It's where she's like, "All right, you're still not to where you need to be, but you've got to eat." So she bites her wrist open, and she gives her wrist to him, and he goes to town going glug, glug, glug.
Hey, man, that's love. That's all I got to say. I just got to... If only I could find a gal who'd bite her own wrist open and let me drink her blood. That's all I'm... That's
the dream of all men.
That's on my dating profile. That's what I'm looking for. I'm saying, it says, have you ever seen Near Dark?
Amazing that you're not getting that much response.
Oh, still
I'd
single.
expect you to be swamped.
Still single. There was a time I have been like, have you seen Near Dark? Because I was I think one time it came out of me at a party once. I was talking to a girl, and I don't know how Tron came up, but the intensity that came out of my voice when I was like, "You haven't seen Tron?" was enough to end whatever.
That was a mistake. I could have told you that.
But it was one of those things where it wasn't
not your feelings for Tron. Your expression of your feelings for Tron.
Yes, because if I had been like, "Well, you haven't seen Tron," but instead it was like
it cool.
Instead it was like, "You've seen Tron." It was no thought between brain and mouth. It just
John.
Boom.
It's when I meet the lovely ladies. You know what I always do is I go, "Oh, I've read some comics." I do that a lot. I go, Superman. He's the one with the cape, right?
Yeah, I know. I've read a few of those, but the good ones. I read. No, the better thing to say now is I've read some graphic novels.
I've read some graphic novels. I'm a huge fan of Mouse.
Yeah. Yes. Because now
I love Persepolis.
I think Watchmen completely changed the medium, and
Watchmen was amazing, even though it had people in capes.
They don't need to know that I polished off another epic collection of Moon Knight yesterday.
They don't need to know that I've gone back and read all of Magnus Robot Fighter or Dr. Solar Man of the Atom.
I mean, that will come,
they don't need
obviously.
To know that.
Should any relation, all they have to do is set foot in my apartment eventually, and
it would be 5 feet before they realize what a huge mistake they made.
Uh-oh. All right, so yeah.
Why does your apartment look like the Fortress of Solitude 1978 Superman? This crystal stuff, it cost a lot of money.
I accidentally lean on a thing, and a big projection of Marlon Brando comes down going, "My son." Sorry.
My son.
Let me shut that off. All right.
They could be a great people if they wish to be. My son.
So anyway, you've got the sheriff of the town where the father lives going, "Yeah, we found that RV. Looks like your son's running with a bad crowd." He's falling in with the wrong kind of people.
This movie does truck along, but every time it cuts back to the father and the sister, again, the performances aren't bad. You're sitting there going, what? Why are we caring about this?
Yeah. I mean, and it will it will work, like
it will work. It will. The threads will come together, but every time it's like a montage of them showing Caleb's picture around to people at a gas station somewhere. You're like, why?
Yeah. No, it's one of those things
remind us that they exist and they're still looking
on
for
the it's one of the it is one of those situations where once you've seen the movie, you know what this ultimately culminates in. But I feel like if you're watching it for the first time, it would be like, okay. I hope this pays off somehow.
Back to the Hick vampires.
But any kind of smart movie viewer would be going, well, surely these two things will meet up, right?
Yes.
But having seen enough movies on here and over on my other podcast, The Action Shelf, there are plenty of movies where they don't meet up.
Yeah, you can't take it for granted.
Not anymore. I stopped doing that. Too many movies were like, oh, that went nowhere. Oh, great. That was a subplot that went nowhere. Perfect.
Wow, they must have just hired them because they were someone's cousin?
Yeah.
Because their character served no purpose.
So now's the thing where they Caleb's freaking out because Jenny, she is Jenny. May is going, hey, sooner or later you're gonna have to kill somebody, though. That's just
and they actually gave the ticking clock. Jesse was like, we'll give him 7 days.
Yeah.
He's got 7 days to prove himself, which basically means
7 days
to become self-sufficient and kill and get his own food.
Yeah. And 7 days before that videotape from The Ring kills him, unfortunately, though. But
man, and it was the 80s, so that videotape is getting moved around a lot of VCRs.
That's you think about The Ring tape came around at the wrong time. If it really wanted to take some people out,
really, not too many people are going to be affected by this.
Oh, I'm safe. I'm safe from The Ring now. I don't even own a VCR. I can't play this, so in the trash it goes. And then we get, oh my God, what a great vampire ploy of Homer on down, looks like he's been hit by a car on his bike. So the guy comes over and he just,
They all have their little thing, and they actually do show them all do a certain thing.
Since this kind of has a montage that carries it, now I think is the right time for me to talk about my undying love for Tangerine Dream.
Yeah. Yes.
I love Tangerine Dream. And of course
Tangerine Dream on the outside would seem a terrible choice for this movie. Mm-hmm. Because again, the period is right. It's the 80s.
Oh yeah.
But this is a Western. You'd expect, and we do get some hits of the day, and we do get some country and Western.
Yeah.
But the score of this movie is Tangerine Dream. You're like, well, isn't that too synthy? But they're so...
Oh, it fits so well,
man. Their choice here, and it's smart, is they really do underplay the score on purpose.
Yeah.
It doesn't overwhelm anything. It doesn't become... It's not as present as it is in something like Risky Business.
Right.
This is where they're just like going, this is mood.
Yeah.
Just giving you mood, and it works.
My favorite score of theirs from one of my favorite movies, Thief. I love their Thief score. I listen to that soundtrack constantly.
That's early stuff,
man.
From them.
That is great. Thief is great. Their score for Legend is great. Their score.
You'll get some people fighting you on that.
I'm fully team Tangerine Dream, and yes, I have the Blu-ray of Legend that has both versions with different scores. But I love the Tangerine Dream score. And a movie that doesn't work, but their score is fucking awesome, is Michael Mann's The Keep.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, that's a movie we almost could have covered.
Yeah.
Almost could have covered.
That movie got butchered, of course, by the studios famously, though.
The movie got
#
butchered.
Release the man cut.
I would love to see that because the book is really entertaining.
There's like an hour
the movie
missing
is
from
a
the
slog.
Movie. Yeah, there's like an hour missing from it, though.
Then they release the man cut.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who are saying that, but there's no money behind that, obviously.
And let's be clear, release the man cut. We are not saying release the cut man. That's a whole other thing. It gets very awkward.
Yeah. We are, no, but I've always wanted, that's like one of my, there are a few of those like unreleased cuts or whatever of movies, and Michael Mann's cut of The Keep is one of the top ones for me that I've always wanted to see, because you can see where that could have been great.
Yeah. Are you kidding me? It's a bunch of Nazis taking over a keep in Transylvania that is home to a proto-vampiric creature.
It is so up our alley.
knowingly unleash it.
It's so up our alley. It's one of my favorite directors of all time. How is it not,
some of the makeup's pretty good. Some of it's not great.
Yeah. Okay, so because we get Paxton, twirling his pistols while he's waiting for a couple of honeys to pick him up on the side of the road.
He's just peacocking out on the road, and then these cuties drive up in a truck, and he's young Bill Paxton, and here he's not, slimed with blood. He's looking all pretty.
Yeah, no. And I do like that he cleaned himself up for this, and he's like, "How you doing, ladies?"
He's got a clean white shirt on.
All right,
and he's like, "You guys want to go to a party?" And they're like, "Yo, hell yeah!" Yeah. And then we have Mama and Daddy, and their thing is they have basically trolled not only for hitchhikers. Yeah. It seems they seem to have a good vampire radar for. We know that these will be pickup artists. Yeah. These will be criminals. So they pick up a hitchhiker who has an accomplice that put guns on him.
Yeah, I've always long had the thought that should I be turned to a vampire, I would try to target the criminal lot.
Kill the evil. Yes,
absolutely.
Kill the evil.
Yes. And also
drain
them, and also those are kind of people nobody's going to miss either. Like, it works on two levels.
Except for John, they have parents too.
Whatever.
Even the evil.
These guys,
people who love them.
These guys not only pull guns on them, one of them very clearly implies he's going to rape Jeanette Goldstein, right? Like, that's pretty
One of
clear.
the great things about I do love movies of super beings, whether they're vampires or whatever. Yeah. And I love knowing looks between them when normal people are doing horrible things like, I am going to fuck you up. I'm going to slice you. And I love when it's someone who's invulnerable, like a superhuman or whatever, and they just go, oh no, are you really? Yeah. Oh no.
Oh, I do like where they go. They go like, she looks good, and it's in my head. Lance Henriksen goes, yes. He goes, you're not going to look so good with your face peeled off.
I know. And like, the way he delivers that line.
And it's like, because he's going to do that.
Yeah, he is going to do that. That's not like an idle thing.
You know what I like about all of these, other than the guy who goes to pick up Homer? We don't see any of the other people actually get killed. It's all just implication of they're going to get drained.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Great stuff.
Good stuff.
Yeah. Let's see. So, they... Now, So meanwhile, they have gotten in this trucker's cab of this big rig, and this guy,
May and Caleb,
and they're this guy is boisterous, and I'll tell you how to drive this here big old rig. You gotta break the trailer, then the truck.
This is one of those characters that is so broad that you instantly like him.
Yeah.
Because one thing, he's jolly. Yeah, he's not a threatening trucker. In fact, he's like, you know how to drive a truck, boy? He goes, well, I know how to drive like a 5-gear or whatever. He goes, well, yeah, but this is an
18-wheeler,
whatever. And so he's like going, so basically we know that there's a reason for the scene. Right. He's like showing him like, well, if you're going to brake, you got to do this, or else you'll jackknife.
It's good screenwriting as well as just a good, good scene for the characters too.
And both May and Caleb are paying close attention. Mm-hmm. And then May is giving him a look like, this has got to be your dude. Yeah. And he starts getting sicker and sicker. Caleb is. So the trucker pulls over, and first he's laughing at him like, oh, you're not doing too good, huh? You partying too much. And then he's like, dude, are you really sick?
Yeah.
And meanwhile, May is looking at Caleb going, do it already. Kill him. And Caleb just looks at her like, I can't. Well, I know I'm dying, but I can't do it.
That's where this guy's likability also works, where it's like, maybe if you're going to try to get this guy to say, you go have him kill the road stop robbers or whatever. Like, that'd be a lot easier than like, hi, fun guy, jolly old trucker,
But they're doing that for impact because it works. Caleb can't do it, but she does.
Yeah, she does.
And so we see that May, when it comes down to it, she a vampire.
Oh, she a vampire.
A vampire, and she's not gonna be nice
because that hunger gets to you. I do feel like no matter what, I think that's kind of the point, right? Is like no matter what your morality is, and he's holding on to this because it's still early, but he can't run forever. He's gonna have to feed at some point. It's not gonna be a choice. Like, it is survival. So you do get into that because what you don't see from May is the glee that the other people have.
Right. It's a matter of fact, like, well, you got to eat.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but you can. Yeah, I don't know why more people don't kill bad guys, though. That's my whole thing. But anyway.
Yeah. But you say that in general about just in life.
If only
I don't know why more people don't kill bad guys.
Yeah, I don't understand. Yeah. It seems great. It seems like that'd be a lot of fun.
This is not your soapbox for the pro death penalty thing that you always get off on.
You know what's great is after my my problems with the war on crime, I'm also totally pro death penalty though. 100%. No qualms there.
Did you sell a joint?
Yeah.
Well, then you're gonna get fried.
Yeah. So they let's see so now when they come back, one also I think this is where he's feeding on her and she goes, hey man, like you're gonna kill me eventually if you're not like.
Yeah, here's the thing, it's like he doesn't want to kill, but he's more than willing to drain her. And I do like the way this scene is played because she is willing, and then at one point she's like, hold on, and she's getting faint, and she shoves him off. And the great thing is, like, if you take too much from me, you'll kill me.
Yeah.
But he's sitting on the ground, and the look on his face, Adrian Pasdar does this really well because he's like gleeful.
Yeah.
It's because he finally ate, and he's just sitting there going, he's grinning like, I don't see any problem with any of it. Well, he looks like a junkie.
It's like you get the taste for the stuff. He's not thinking about I might kill this girl I love. I'm just
like, that was tasty.
Once it hits your tongue, it's so good. Will Ferrell from Old School.
Once it hits your tongue, it's so good.
Another example of a movie that's like a meh script made very funny by the comedy performers in it.
That is a movie where, and I don't get too nostalgic, but I sit there going, why can't that exact same group of people do something else together? Because the chemistry was great.
That trio is so funny.
And they all bring something different.
Yes.
They are not the same comedic performer. You're like,
no, it's
holy crap.
It goes back to old school comedy, you know?
You got a Vince Vaughn.
Yeah, it goes back to Will Ferrell. It's a classic comedy trio, right?
I want to see them in another movie, even though they're all now 64 years old. I want to see them all in another movie.
They could be 64-year-old funny guys. There's no reason.
No, there are plenty of them.
Yeah. I mean, those guys are all still funny in stuff. So, they're all still working.
I think Tim Thomerson in this one is hilarious, and he's clearly 74 years old in this.
He had me laugh. Oh, I don't think there's a laugh in this thing, but...
there is, but it's all from Bill Paxton.
It's all sick chuckles, right?
Like, it's sick chuckles.
Man,
where you're like going, wow,
boy.
Oof.
Yeah, no, he's funny, but not in the way, we're disturbed. He's funny like the Joker's funny,
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. So they go, hey man, you gotta kill, and you gotta kill tonight.
Yeah, they're kind of fed up. They've given him all this patience.
Yeah.
And they really think of him as Deadwood at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Not the town, but they think of him as
they think of him as the HBO prestige drama Deadwood.
They think of him as that show.
To which, in my case, he can stick with the group because that's a great.
Well, they're like going, "You are 2.5 good seasons." And a good movie
and a satisfying concluding movie.
Yeah. So they do give him this ultimatum, and they're basically whole reason for the scene at this bar.
Yeah.
They are giving him this great opportunity.
Yeah.
They're essentially saying, "We'll set him up for you."
Yeah.
This is shooting fish in a barrel.
Oh, this scene, man, which is a huge chunk of the movie, really. It's the longest scene by far in this movie. It's got to be a 15 to 20 minute scene.
I don't want to go too far, but it's a perfect scene.
It is!
Because
this has always been one of my favorite scenes in anything, really.
It builds. It's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It has peaks and valleys.
Yeah.
It has a moral conflict at the center of it.
Yeah.
And it is just vampirism unleashed, which if you're a fan of... I love Dracula, but I also just love vampires. And when you get a group of them and they are just going to town on some poor living mortals, I'm there all day.
The second they walk into this place, everybody's fucking dead. You just know it.
It's similar to watching, again, it's similar to like watching something like The Long Riders, and that's a weird take, but you like watching a Western. When you get the group of outlaws in there, the second they walk into the bank or wherever in Lincoln City or something, that everyone in there is basically dead.
Yeah.
Because things will, even if it's supposed to go smooth, it will go wrong or whatever, and there's going to be a body count.
By the way, Long Riders, Walter Hill.
Long Riders is a little too long, but it's such a great Western with a great gimmick.
Yeah.
It is one of the best gimmicks in film history.
Yeah. I like that
real
one. Yeah.
actor brothers playing real brother outlaws from history.
So good.
Holy crap.
That movie's fun.
And it's Christopher Guest in a drama with a gun.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that is weird.
As one of the Fords. Anyway, moving on.
So Paxton immediately is the one who's going to start trouble first here.
Yeah.
By going up and fucking with these guys at the bar.
And this is the kind of escalation I love, because it starts off as being biker gang trouble. It doesn't immediately become, but it's brazen. Like the guy just walks in, and Bill Paxton just knocks over a guy's shot glass.
Yeah.
And instead of apologizing, he's like going, what are you going to give me some of that piss poor shit that you gave this guy?
Yeah.
He starts insulting the booze, insulting the bartender. And the guy's like, you're going to buy me another drink. And he's like, why don't you get him another drink? Yeah. And then he goes, now pay the man. He just keeps working it up.
I love the bit where he goes, you know what Buffalo Bill is? And he dips his chin in the beer so it comes up with the foam.
I didn't hear the commentary. Did she say that seems like an improv?
It is, yeah.
He's like, you ever hear the one about Buffalo Bill? And he just dips his chin into a...
From what I gather, there was a lot of Paxton improv in particular.
Was finger licking good? That has to have been in the script.
I think that was in the script. But I think... here's an interesting thing. You talk about aliens. I just see this here. Michael Biehn was offered the role of Jesse, but did not care for the script.
I think you need, even though they are different ages of vampire, I think you do need an older guy.
You also need, Henriksen just has such a different energy. Biehn is a little bit more, Biehn can certainly be a scary bad guy.
Oh yeah, he can.
He's my favorite part of the Abyss.
He's not going to give you the high energy thing, obviously, that Paxton does. So he would have been a better Jesse, but at the same time, I think you just needed the skull glower.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think there's it's a different kind of intensity.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I love Biehn. I love Biehn across the board, but like he's a great bad guy in the Abyss. I fucking love him as Johnny Ringo in Tombstone, of course.
Oh, of course,
Johnny Ringo.
He's done some really, really great stuff.
Yeah, he was good as a bad guy on The Mandalorian recently.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, he's always good, man. All right, so they, so that's the trouble he's starting. I do love when this guy comes to swing at Paxton, though. He just grabs Pasdar as a human shield, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm trying to teach him a lesson, so keep hitting him."
It's another great asshole move, is that he grabs the innocent dude. He's like going, no, I'm trying to teach him a lesson. In other words, these punches are not going to hurt you too bad because you're now a fucking vampire. Yeah. But he does just put this guy in front, and the guy does. He hits him a couple times. And then Pasdar can't take it anymore or is sick of it. And so he punches the biker dude. And that's a really well done stunt because the guy flies backwards and you expect him to kind of like hit the top of the pool table and roll. No, he hits low enough to where it is just the back. He hits in the middle of the back. So the guy kind of folds. Yeah. And I was like, ow. Fucking hell! I
know
I hope that stunt dude was okay.
It's great. This is all once again the tension of this and like the way this escalates. Because then we have Jesse who's getting handsy with the waitress.
Yeah, all the other vampires have gotten a booth.
Yeah,
and they're just sitting there, and the waitress comes over and she's trying her best, like any waitress would. Like, I know there's a fight going on over there. That happens every night. I'm just gonna keep bringing them beer. But then Jesse, he starts feeling her up, and she's like, okay, this is weird because your girlfriend's right there and your kid.
Yeah.
Because Homer is literally lolling on top of the bar table.
Yeah.
And then Jesse says, and this is a great vampire quote, he goes, just leave the glass.
Yeah.
And she goes, I'm sorry, you don't want the beer? He goes, just leave the glass.
Yeah.
Whew,
I also like his line about you're softer than a preacher's belly.
Yeah. No, again, it's all working.
That's creepy, man.
And at this point, it is still just bad biker gang trouble. It hasn't become like serial killer or vampire trouble. At this point, though, he backs her up into Diamondback, who just slashes her throat.
But busts out that butterfly knife, which is always cool. Slashes her throat
and shoves her forward, and so that Lance Henriksen kind of catches her and is just emptying her blood into that empty glass.
God, that's good stuff.
And at this point, bartender and everyone else in the bar is like, oh God.
I think it's right about here. The bartender grabs that shotgun and starts loading it, which
he's trying to be subtle. They keep cutting back to it because while other stuff is going on, he is like trying to keep his eyes up here.
He's doing the no look, and he's broken open the thing. He's putting the shells in.
He's putting shells into the shotgun. Oh,
and
man.
Poor Adrian Pasdar. Talking about the innocent guy gets beaten, and then it's the innocent guy that gets fucking shot here too. It is like, why would you shoot him?
Well, I mean,
but I'm just saying, like,
I would go after the most obvious threat.
Yeah, let's get Paxton first, and then just going down the line.
Shooting any of them was going to have.
I'm not saying
and actually, Pasdar tries to correct him. He goes, "That's not going to do any good."
No, that's later with his father.
Oh, is that later? Oh, that is
the father. Oh, yeah. Here he gets shot, and Bill Paxton's just like ooh. It's great. This is all great stuff.
Because they're taking delight.
Yeah.
Especially, I mean, the others, you got Homer bopping his head to music while people are being massacred. You've got Diamondback and Jesse essentially just kicking back and enjoying themselves. It's just Paxton's show, and he is going person to person, and they're all shitting themselves, and they know they're dead. It's like, how will I do this one? Will I shoot this guy? Will I slash his throat? What am I going to do? He's got the one guy, and he's just squeezing his skull.
Yeah, that's actually before this thing with the shotgun, I'm realizing. Yeah, he's squeezing and then he just kind of, he squeezes his skull, and then he just kind of like, he breaks his neck in like 3 ways, though. He's like, back, side to side, crack, crack, crack. Yeah. And then I do love, he goes, I hate it when they ain't shaved.
Yeah, because after he breaks his neck, he leans in to get his bite on.
Yeah.
And that seems like a scripted line, but it's good. Yeah. It's like, I hate it when they ain't shaved.
Yeah.
And so he bites this guy, and then that's the guy. Now he's drained him, and he is Bill Paxton is got blood all down the front of him, and he does the licking of his fingers.
Licking.
That's finger licking good.
God, that you taught once again. You want it just that line alone. That's everything. That Paxton commitment to that.
I remember that when this was on like HBO, like when it was first on cable, and they would do a quick like movies on tonight.
Yeah,
they would just use that line.
Yeah, because it's great. Because once again, it could be stupid, it could be too much, and a different actor, but he nails the tone. That is finger licking good. Like it's just
sells the scene.
God.
And it also is set up for. I mean, we have the ineffectual shotgun, and the bartender and the one innocent teen in the back are the only ones left.
Oh, James LeGros.
Bill Paxton gets up on the bar and is doing like a
this is
shit.
This is the
he
best
does this
kill
dance on the bar, and then
he
uses, and it's the first time I think this has ever been in film.
I don't think I've
as far as I know.
This is always what I think of this from.
He uses his spurs and does this, and it's also nice editing.
Yeah.
But he sweeps his leg once, twice, 3 times, forward, back, forward, and slashes the bartender's throat with his spurs.
And it's so the casualness of this. He doesn't. Paxton's doing it very graceful, not vicious and violent. It's just like a.
Nope. Yeah, it's like an ice dancing move. He just goes swish, swish, swish. Guy goes down.
Yeah,
and then he basically points at the teenager. Yeah. Oh yeah, and of course gouts of blood.
Yeah,
he points at the teenager and goes, "That's yours." Yeah. He's like, we left him for you. Like this was all like, and meanwhile the teenager is James LeGros, the actor who went on to many things.
Yeah.
And still Caleb can't bring himself to do it, and the kid's escaping out the back.
It's not even. We don't even get him a chance to not do it, because as soon as he approaches him, James LeGros fucking jumps out a window, which I love. He just out the glass.
Well, he realizes he's the last one left, and he's been standing just shivering.
Yeah.
And now he goes, ah, and throws himself out the window.
And they go after him, right? And so
go after him.
They start to burn down the bar while Caleb is chasing James LeGros. And of course he confronts him. I think he gets his hands on him even, but then is like, and lets him go.
The kid goes, please, no, please, God, no. And then he's begging for his life, and then Caleb just lets him go.
Something very rarely done in any of these monster movies. He apparently runs right to the cops, who believe him and will track these people down.
I'm sure they don't believe that they were vampires.
But they certainly are going to go to a bar filled with burned corpses now that they've massacred.
Also they also do the big thing that, what movie was it we were talking about? I was like, they don't do that. Bring the witness in the back of the cop car to a shootout. I'm like, you don't bring a witness in the back of the cop car. The witness stays at the police station and says they did a thing.
I love the idea of like, well, we better bring him so he can see us bring them down.
In the back of one of the cop cars when they go
especially when we've established the homicidal nature of these people. This probably is going to get violent. Shots are probably going to be fired.
But also, enough time has passed. Okay, so
what was the plan? Were they going to drag him out and go, this them?
Yeah, I know. But what has happened is, in the intervening time, is they, right before dawn, because again, vampires can't keep track of time.
Right.
They've gotten to a hotel, and this is where that hotel scene happens, where the old man is like, "You look familiar." He goes, "Yeah." And Jesse's like, "I've been through here."
I do like,
and he's like, "Come on, fucker, give me the room," because he's watching the sun creep across the deck, and he gets the keys. They put blankets on over themselves, get inside the hotel room to hide from the sun.
Yeah.
And then the cops show up.
Yeah, it's the police, and they've surrounded the place. They're armed up with their rifles and shotguns. And I do like Paxton looking out the window to see the cops, and he just turns back, and his face just goes, "Fucking sunlight."
And that's awesome. I mean, he's literally charred. The makeup in this movie is good. This is good makeup.
Great, not monster makeup. Great monster, like burn and bloodied and makeup. Which is cool.
See the fangs, which are there when they need them. They look fine, but it is more about.
Well, they're not doing the Lost Boys monstrous vampire face.
No. This is just them with fangs and them with blood in their mouths.
Yeah.
And then them getting charred. But anyway, he jumps back. What I love is that Homer, who's the oldest one, supposedly, I guess, Homer loses it. He's like, the sunlight. He cries. He's like, oh no.
This is not going to go well, you guys. Yeah. And I think this is where Henriksen's like, get it together, old man. Jesus Christ.
Right. So the whole thing is, obviously they know how to escape from places during daylight, essentially, but they are surrounded by cops.
Yeah.
So now Caleb, who they're like saying, you're going to die because you let us down and you led the cops to us. Caleb goes, I can go get the van. So this is how he's going to redeem himself.
Right,
I will get us out of here. And they're like, good luck. And all he does is he does what they could have done. He throws a blanket over himself, gets out the place while they're shooting. He gets shot a few times.
But what does it matter? He's a vampire. I mean, any of them could have done this.
But I will also say that until the last fire effect of Homer going up, which is the shakiest because it's the most involved.
It is.
All the other fire effects are very good.
They are. And even the Homer one is much better than a lot of optical effects of this era. Sometimes it's real
videoed on top of him fire, but it looks pretty good.
It's not because it's the overlay that's questionable. The fire actually looks good. That's usually where the problem is. It's sort of a cartoon.
It's shaped correctly for the parts of his body that should be on fire.
It's just and that's a lot to, as you said, it's a lot to ask. Now we could track him digitally. I could do that with my laptop right now. Like really.
Pretty much now pretty much the rest of the movie, including this scene of the stuntman, let's say, as Caleb under the blanket, that's real fire on a real stunt person. It looks good.
It looks
and
good.
I'm worried about the guy.
And then later with Henriksen and Goldstein, they're clearly putting flame in front of the camera and shooting those, which is still an effect people use to this day.
Yeah, but again, they took the time to make it look pretty decent.
Yeah. But
anyway, so Caleb gets into the van, which is like their third vehicle now.
Yeah, and everybody, at this point, it's a full-on gunfight. We do get a knock from Bill Paxton as he blows a guy away.
Yes.
I love
that's great.
Give me Lance Henriksen just unloading a Desert Eagle at some cops all day, man, in his crazy fucking sunglasses with the nose.
Yes, they all have, in addition to throwing blankets over themselves, they all have sort of like wrap around sunglasses and different types of eyewear to protect themselves.
But he's got like Invisible Man nose and glasses.
Yeah, this one actually has a nose piece,
which is cool.
I do remember some like that in the 80s.
I just love
There was a time in the 80s where they were in love with going retro with like the side pieces of leather like on 1930 sunglasses. They went back to that, and I remember a few that did have a nose piece.
There you go.
None of the cool kids wore those.
Oh God, no.
But the goggle types I would have worn because they looked like 1930 stuff. Anyway,
yeah.
So he does. Caleb gets the van and drives it into the room.
Yeah.
Honking the horn so they know to get out of the way.
But just bang, 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 stop. Everything's getting shot to hell. And the cool thing of the threat is the bullets aren't a threat, but every hole makes more sunlight come into the room. Very cool.
But they're able to bundle themselves into the van and escape. They're yee-hawing all the way.
Yep.
And they're all very proud of Caleb. He's redeemed himself.
Hey, man.
Even though later on, Jesse's like,
yeah,
you've learned yourself a little more time. Jesse gets really hardcore. The rest of them are like, you're on our team, man.
Well,
you're great.
when they get to this new motel, I mean, the biggest thing is Severin gives him one of his spurs. Hey, man, there you go. Yeah, check it out.
You earned that. You're my brother.
Yeah,
you're my brother, man.
You're right. And it seems like Caleb is like, all right, man, nice.
Well, I think he's just he's feeling the sense of belonging. Even though these are horrible murderer people.
Yeah.
And some of the pressure is off him.
They're his horrible murder people now. You know.
Yeah.
These are my kind of people.
No, he's horrible murder people.
Yeah, and Homer does the thing where he goes to shake his hand and then does the thing and is like,
like
you little scamp.
He slicks his hair back. Yeah. And now they're all happy in the hotel. They're going to be healing.
This is the moment where we get the full vampire family. You know.
Yeah, they're playing poker and he says it's 5-card roulette, Russian roulette.
5-card Russian roulette. Might as well.
And here's where things get creepy. Well, there's a romantic thing where Caleb and May go out to look at the stars and get mushy.
Yeah.
But Homer wants a soda.
Yeah, he does.
He's on the prowl.
Yeah. Oh, he's on the prowl for something.
He sees a little girl at the soda machine in the middle of the night.
And of course, we recognize it as Caleb's sister. He
Sarah.
Doesn't know that, obviously.
He doesn't know that's his sister, but he sees a young lady.
This is how good this kid was as a child actor. He changes his whole physicality, his voice, everything.
Because he's doing adult acting, similar to the young guy in Umbrella Academy who's very good.
God, that kid is good. Jesus Christ.
I know, being like, I'm a teenager, but I'm playing a 40 or 50-year-old in a teenager's body.
Every season, I'm blown away by that guy.
So this is this thing of an even younger guy who's been playing this immortal.
Yeah.
And now he sees a child victim.
Yeah.
So he adjusts his whole personality. He's like, hey, where are you from?
Yeah.
Are you staying at the hotel? He's like, yeah. Are you alone? I'm with my dad. He's like, he lets you come out at night? And she's like, I go wherever I want, whenever I want.
Yeah. I think she's pretty good too, actually.
I mean, I'm not saying that anyone's bad. It's just these characters don't have a lot to do.
No, but like
the dad and the
actually, but I think more than the dad, there is a sense of personality to her.
Yes. And so he's like, well, that's cool. Do you want to come watch TV?
Yeah.
And she goes, and I love this. This is very 1987. She goes, is it color TV?
Yeah. Which I still even remember as a kid in the 90s, that being on motel signs and going like, who doesn't have a color TV?
No, that was left over. But and I would say even by 87, that would be rare. It would be more common in like a hotel or motel.
Yeah.
That you'd end up with a 20-year-old black and white TV.
But I'm saying like I remember it being like 1994 and still seeing that on like a Super 8 and going like, who the hell?
Sometimes you would see it say color TV and then HBO on it. And you go, oh my God, they've got a cable channel and it's in color?
Yeah.
I'm stopping here.
Yeah. I just went to stay in hotels just to watch cable. I didn't even need to go anywhere.
I went to these hotels in my own town.
I saw it. They said they had HBO and Showtime. Well, I'm never
leaving. I live
leaving.
4 blocks from here, but I don't have cable.
Yeah.
So how much for a night?
We did have cable, and I do remember. I am luckily old enough to remember the days when HBO and Showtime were just on the cable.
Right.
It was not the package that they have now, you know.
Do you remember HBO when it was home box office?
Yeah, I think it was just phasing out when I was a kid. It was still that, though.
Can I take one break just to do the little theme song that would come up in the early 80s when you were watching home box office?
Was that when they'd go through the town?
No, town was later. This was zooming through the letters of HBO.
Yeah, yeah.
dun 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 dun.
They actually kept
Dun,
that music well into the 2000s. They changed the
did.
opening, but that was the HBO theme because
And
I was also a kid where it was like, oh my God, the Saturday night premiere movie. As a kid, on Saturday night at 8, I was watching whatever the brand new movie was. I was there.
There was
in front of the
podcast, a movie podcast that, and I think it was called Rewind. But that I liked a lot, and sadly they went for like several seasons, and it was like, sorry guys, life has taken a turn, and we're not doing this anymore. And it was great. But they would use that as their opener.
Oh, I love it. I love it, man. No, the one I remember as a kid was the miniature town that it would go.
Yeah,
through.
The miniature town. I remember that one too.
Yeah, that was the '90s one that I was just, man, HBO, or as my grandfather once. I think I've talked about other pronunciations of his. For some reason, he would call it Hebo. He would see it in the TV guide and go, "Hey, they got a good movie on Hebo tonight."
He was just being funny. He knew it was home box office.
He must have, but I don't know. He stuck to that forever. Hebo's got it. Hebo's showing a new Clint Eastwood. If it was a Clint Eastwood or a John Wayne picture, he was there, man.
I'm going to watch it on Shout, I mean. You mean Showtime? Nope.
Shout on me.
Shout, I mean.
All right, so let's see. So he brings her back to the room. Caleb's not in the room, though, because he's out with May. Because
that's right. That's why he doesn't know his sister's in there.
This moment, though, when they turn on the TV and it's the station going off, and his desperation to find something,
that is really well performed.
It's so good. No, there's something on.
The only way he got her into the room was to show her TV, but the channels are done for the night, and he's like, no, there's got to be something else on. There's got to be something else on.
That's like I said, it doesn't make him sympathetic because the kid's a little murderer, but.
He's trying to take a child as his bride.
Right, but to him, it is just, he's so fucking lonely. There's a thing earlier we talked about, you don't know how bad it is to be stuck like this, you know?
Yeah.
And so it is almost like he's going like...
movies before, we will see it again.
Oh, I mean, my God, because I was immediately thinking of Interview with the Vampire.
Right.
And certainly one of my favorites, Let the Right One In.
Of course.
Yeah. But
being immortal stuck in a child's body.
Which we'll get that story twice because we'll do both that and the American remake, which is also fucking great. Let Me In is also really good.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, that Matt Reeves is pretty good.
That Matt Reeves can do a movie.
Yeah, I just hope he keeps making Batman movies. That's all I really want him to do at this point, though.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah. Well, he's gonna make another one, but we'll go from there. But let's see. So they bring him in, and then it's around here that she's like, well, yeah, maybe I should go. The girl, and
she's like, oh well, that's okay. Yeah. I should go anyway. And he's like, no.
Yeah, and they do ask her because I do like that when he brings this kid in, all the adult vampires in quotes go, hey, yeah, man, are you staying here with like your family? And what room are they in? Because they're
automatically thinking like, we're gonna if this is what he wants, we're gonna have to cover it up somehow.
Right. They're getting ahead of that.
Diamondback is instantly kind of maternal, like, hey, sweetie. It's nice.
Yeah.
Even though she knows that Homer's gonna snack on her and possibly turn her into a vampire.
I do like that it's just like Homer's whole thing is just like, well, if I just had like another kid vampire, then I'd be okay, you know? Whatever.
Though she'll end up being another, in another 50 years, she'll be like, oh, great. I'm 6 forever. Yay. I'm 6 forever.
It's a selfish.
Homer's had other, in the course of his vampirism, he has to have had other child brides who did a similar thing and probably committed vampire suicide. Like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah. There's a comic book prequel.
I won't be working on that because it's too creepy.
I do like at some point, though, he did turn May, maybe thinking like, well, we'll meet in the middle and I'll go like teenager.
Yeah.
And we'll see how that turns out.
He's essentially a vampire pedophile.
He is very much so when he is trying to kind of force himself on the sister later, which is real disturbing.
Yep.
Yeah, he is. It's just he's kind of in some ways a perfect pedophile because he appears as a child.
Yes.
He's evolved into the ultimate sexual predator.
which is a movie that you stopped working on. And I'm glad that you finally said, we got the funding, but I'm shutting this down.
Yeah, well, yeah, it was from a shady source, that funding, though. The ultimate sexual
well,
predator.
To be fair, when you signed on, you thought it was a film about the Ultimate Warrior.
Yes.
You did not read closely enough.
I did not. I was really, I've been dying to tell the story of the Ultimate Warrior.
The Ultimate Warrior.
Biopic of the Ultimate. How did he become the Ultimate Warrior? That's really what we want to know.
Was it just the makeup design?
Yeah, and the tagline was "From normal to ultimate." He was a normal
one man
warrior.
In search of bicep tassels.
So he comes in and he's like, "Oh my God, Sarah, what are you doing here? This is great." Yeah, and Dad's just
Caleb. Yeah, Caleb's very happy. Hey, it's my sister.
Hey, this is great, guys. This is my sister. And then Bill Paxton walks in with the dad at gunpoint.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Hey, can we just be cool and let them go, guys? Like, they're my family, and let's just be everybody chill out.
Be cool. Let's all be cool.
We're all gonna be a bunch of little Fonzies."
And Dad and Sarah, the sister, clearly don't know what's going on. They're just like, "Who are these people, Caleb? Why aren't you with them?"
Yeah.
We thought you were dead. We thought you were in Oklahoma or whatever.
Yeah. And it's like, hold on, where I've lost my place. Okay, yeah. So this whole thing turns into a standoff, and the father gets a hold of Severin's gun at one point here, though.
Yep.
And he's pointing that at everybody, and that's where he's like, "Dad, don't bother. That won't work." And I love when he shoots Jesse here. And Jesse spits the bullet back out.
Come on.
And he gives it to me, and he goes, "You can hold on to that."
Jeez.
Fuck, that's cool, man.
What more do you need?
I don't know. Like, it's one of those things where it's just like, that's it, man. That's all I need in a film right there.
Yeah. You actually, there's some good stuff to come, but you could just shut the movie off right there.
Well, I do actually. The climax of the movie is good, but nothing does top the bar scene, of course.
Nothing tops the bar scene.
Yeah, that's like legitimately one of my favorite scenes, probably in any movie. I just love that scene. This is all turning somewhere not good. Until we have known it's almost dawn. I think somebody said it's 5 a.m. at one point.
Yeah.
Because when the sister eventually does make a move and opens the door, sunlight! She burns!
The sister, not that she knew what this would do.
Yeah.
But it is almost like one of those Van Helsing reveal scenes.
Yeah.
Because she just opens the door as if she knew it would be
the way this is lit, it's just bright white light hitting them. Yeah. We don't even get the sense of outside.
That if it's 5:45 or whatever in the morning, it wouldn't look like that. It's awesome because it knocks them back like a physical
It's
wave.
Artistic, right? It's an expressionistic kind of thing where it's just like, any sun is all sun. So they run out and they grab Caleb with them and run out into their truck and speed off.
Yeah. And, so it's Caleb. Basically the family's reunited. It's Dad and Caleb and sister.
Yeah.
And they're heading back home.
Well, and I love it because we got to get you to a hospital. He goes, "No, the hospital's not going to do anything, Dad."
This is okay. This is the back of the dad's truck. All right. And so Caleb is hurt and he's like, "It won't help me.
Yeah.
Nothing can help me." And then he said, "And don't take me to the hospital. No one will believe it. You wouldn't even believe it if I told you."
Yeah.
And then he's looking at Dad's medical equipment in the back because he's a veterinarian. And then he goes, "Dad, have you ever done
a transfusion?
Transfusion on a human?"
Yeah. I also do like when he goes, there's two other things I really like in this. I do like his line of, "I'm bit, I got a bite." Like that's a nice line. And then also when he finally, to prove it to him, he just puts his hand into the sun and it starts burning. And his dad also going, "Who were those people, Caleb? Normal people don't get shot and spit bullets back out."
Yeah.
It's just like, I don't even have time, Dad. And then, we're going to do the transfusion, which is, this is all, even like teenage me who saw this movie for the first time, like at 14 or whatever, I go, a powerful parallel to drug abuse when they sort of dry him out,
That is something you took from it.
Yeah.
Here's what Brendan took from it as a teenager and as an adult.
Oh, interesting.
Pick number whatever.
Yeah.
the third act of this movie doesn't work at all.
Whoa, no, man. What?
There are scenes, I mean, there are things in it that are really cool, like Homer's coming in after Sarah and all that. I mean, we're going to get good moments all the way
Paxton
through.
climbing up the hood of that truck. Fuck yeah, man.
Sure. But I'm sorry. A transfusion, that's all it takes. A transfusion of, I guess, the same blood type. Let's just say, hey, Lucky Dad would have the same blood type as the son.
That's highly likely.
But if a vampire draws blood into themselves as their food, and that is also what's circulating through them, isn't that a transfusion every fucking night? Why would that turn them non-vampire?
That's going into their bellies. It's not going into their veins, though.
It goes, all that goes into your veins. What you eat then gets
I understand, but I look at it as the transfusion. It's more like dialysis almost.
Replacing the bad blood with the good blood.
Yeah, that works for me.
It doesn't work for me. It's a dumb. Any vampire movie, and they're not the only ones, but vampire movie that has done that, like all it takes to reverse vampirism is you just get some new blood.
But I take it to be a lot of new blood and over. Like he's out in that barn for a while before.
I just prefer. I mean, for one thing, I see vampires as a supernatural thing anyway. So I'm fully down with killing the head vampire makes the sub vampires go back to normal.
Though, it's
I can do that.
This movie is supernatural, but kind of not. Like it's very vague, which I like about it. As IMDb trivia points out, they never say vampire, of course.
Yeah, I know, and I like that too, but this just doesn't. It's dumb, and I would give them Caleb because Caleb hasn't turned. He was still that, but then May later on,
yeah, man,
and same thing. And I guess there's plenty of blood of her blood type waiting around to be pumped into her body.
Yeah, the sister mashed. I don't know.
12 pints of whatever her blood type is.
It's just
I don't buy this. This bugs me. The ending is just so you get a happy ending. All these hoops they're going to make you jump through are so you get an unearned happy ending. So I don't like the ending of this movie as much as I love this movie.
It works just fine for me.
Okay.
Because I accept it. We see the transfusion work, so why wouldn't it work again? But I mean, it's getting into.
I accept it because they did it. I saw them do it.
Well, they try it. They don't actually know this is going to work. They just try it, and it does work. To be fair, it's not.
No, I like that they don't go in with any kind of dumb knowledge of like this will fix it.
Yeah,
they're guessing. And it turns out to have worked. I don't mind that. It's just that it's a dumb cure, and I don't buy that as a vampire cure.
He's fixed. All right.
He's fixed, and I would buy him being fixed. I think a better ending would have been the Romeo and Juliet tragedy where they can't fix her. She dies.
I mean, I wouldn't have had a problem with that, but I don't have a problem with this either, is my attitude. Okay. So,
by the way, spoiler alert, she lives in the end.
Yeah. She literally lives again. But she is outside of the barn later when he comes out. He comes out immediately and he's frolicking in the field with his sister. And then he comes out the house later, and May's there. And I do like when she touches him, and she's like, "You're warm, like you're alive again." But they don't care. They love each other, man. Vampire, human. They would have. You know what? They would have made it work even if she was still a vampire. These two crazy kids.
If they had done that story that way, it's like I know that you're going to stay this way, but we'll make it work. Yeah. Hey, as I told you, I just watched Wolf Like Me season 1, and I enjoyed that take on the werewolf thing. Good. And it is essentially we'll work around your werewolf.
Everybody's got their problems, you know?
Yeah, everyone's got baggage.
And also,
so I would have accepted her staying a vampire.
I'm not sure being a werewolf would make me less interested in Isla Fisher either. So, I think I could look past that.
Me too. I can't look past her pretending to be an American, even though she's Australian, in a show shot in Australia. All right, moving on.
Yeah, that was weird. Network note maybe on that one?
I'll send it along.
Yeah, that's got to be... so anyway, so let's see. Yeah, she's outside. They're whatever. So she runs off, and then as soon as she runs off, they realize, wait a minute, Sarah's missing. Someone took Sarah. And all the cars have been sabotaged. I do love all the cars have been sabotaged. So if we're going to make this a Western, we got to get our hero on horseback at the end. I do love that.
Oh, I do like the very beginning when he wants to show her a surprise and takes it to his ranch.
Oh, we didn't talk about that.
Out.
The horse did freak out.
Yeah, we didn't talk about that. I was like, oh, vampire myth. I like that.
Yeah, and it also sets up the horse for the end here. which is very good.
So he rides the horse, and that is a good cowboy turn.
He's in full-on hero mode now that he's on his horse and riding after his sister into town. And I do like when he rides into town and all the vampires are waiting for him.
Yeah.
Very, very cool.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the showdown in the city street, right, with the bad guys, which is cool. So let's see. So she's missing. It gets on the horse. And then Paxton's gonna come after him first here, which is when his big move is to jump on this truck that this guy's driving into town. Of course, he unfortunately gets this guy killed because Paxton shoots him in the head.
Yeah.
Bullseye. Oh, man. Bill Paxton.
I can only imagine that this Wild West gunfighter has had, 100+ years to practice. He's got to be like the best shot in the world. I love that.
Let me pitch you this. Young Bill Paxton as Bullseye from Daredevil.
I love that. Because the whole turning him into somebody of Irish descent was just so you could get that guy into it.
And actually, Farrell is maybe the best part of that movie.
He is the best part. He's one of the best.
Michael Clark Duncan's also very good in it too. And I think the Fabs. I thought the Fabs was a good Foggy.
Yes, Bill Paxton would have been great. He would have been great in any. God damn it!
Because this moment here, obviously, and he literally does say Bullseye, really did make me go like, that's the energy you could use for a Bullseye in a movie. Absolutely. Although I actually really did like the guy who did it on the Netflix show.
I'd like to see him if he was going to do like a Marvel hero. I'd love to see him do one of the Western type heroes. He would be a fucking awesome rawhide kid or something.
Yeah.
I would be on board for that all day long.
Absolutely. So he attacked. Yeah. So now this is where he runs him down with the truck. And this is one of my favorite sequences in the movie. Number one, the makeup on the all mangled Bill Paxton. And he
ran over him, and very Terminator. This is very Terminator.
Very Terminator.
He claws his way back up the grill.
But I
love
the close-ups of his hands going into the metal of it and yanking him apart.
Yeah. And when he's on top of the hood, the makeup is great. He's still just taunting him because again, he's not feeling pain. No. This isn't the way you kill a vampire. So he's like, I'm going to knit back together. But while I'm doing this, he's just reaching. I love it. He's just like, let me see what I can do. And he's just pulling crap out. He's reaching in to the engine block and just going, this you don't need, this you don't need. And we can see that the truck is losing a little bit of momentum. Yeah. And we also see that Caleb is talking to himself, remembering the jackknife thing of like, if you don't break the if you break the cab without breaking the trailer first, then you're going to get the jackknife. So he's like, if you do this, and then he bails out while the thing jackknifes.
And the whole thing goes up, man. And Bill Paxton,
explosion.
In the words of We Hate Movies, Bill Paxton's a crispy critter.
He's a crispy critter.
And you do see the spur land.
Yep.
Great stuff, man. And I do kind of like that you can just blow these vampires up.
Yeah. Essentially, as we've seen, that if they don't just cook in the sun, at one point they get down to, I guess, the bone, and they fucking explode.
Yeah, they combust, which is great, man. It's great.
Yeah.
Oh, I need that in my movies.
How do we go from there to the daylight scene? I know that.
Well, here we get this
Sarah again.
After they blow him up, then we get the confrontation with the rest of the vampires, and this is where you get her trying to throw the knife.
Yes,
because his back he's talking to Jesse, but Diamondback is behind him,
and the sister says, Caleb, look out.
She fights her way off of Homer, who's trying to, I guess, bite her, but it's a very sexual assault kind of imagery.
He's also just trying to keep her with him.
Yeah, don't go, man.
Don't go, stay with me. And he's clawing on her. And she gets away, and then she goes, Caleb, look out. So he's able to duck out of the way.
And man, this
Diamondback's
cool.
knife goes right into Jesse's mouth.
And he just yanks it out in the blood spurt of it and stuff.
Well, first his head goes back, so you see it sticking up like a sword swallower.
Yeah.
And then he just pulls his head up and just goes, pulls it out. It's so good.
It's so good. Man, you talk about this movie's good really makeup. really satiating my famous bloodlust on this show. This thing delivers.
It's also more realistic. These vampires bite into people's veins, and those things pop.
Exactly. This is not the blood of a Hammer movie, which is very grand and operatic. This is very visceral,
and also
real.
Bright tomato red.
Well, once again, it adds to what you're talking about, which is something Kathryn Bigelow is very visceral throughout. I mean, dude, the actual assassination of Bin Laden in Zero Dark 30 is a masterpiece of an action sequence, man. So good. And actually, people talk about Gunn with
Lance Henriksen was up for Osama bin Laden.
I can do it. I'll grow the beard. No, what I was gonna say is, people give Gunn credit, but technically she cast Pratt as an action hero first, as the leader of that SEAL team before Guardians. So there was some. It wasn't totally out of nowhere.
He had to get in more shape to be Star-Lord.
He was kind of a beefy muscle guy.
He was a beefy,
which is what those guys are like. He was
a realistic soldier guy.
That's it, exactly. Those like Navy SEAL guys aren't ripped. They're bulky and big.
The whole thing is that it's that comic book physicality that I've seen articles written about it. They're like, we need to pull back from that because it's so unhealthy for the actors.
Yeah. It is.
Yeah.
But I'm all right with
see him with their shirt off at least once to see the sweet carved pecs. We need to see that keg. No, sorry, 6-pack.
Yeah. So they run off now. He and the sister and the others are giving chase, which is how we get to daylight.
Yeah.
And so they're in a car. They're in their station wagon with all the foil on the windows and stuff.
Right.
And they take a hard turn, and Homer just goes out the side of the car.
Yeah. Now here's the thing. Also, May helped Sarah escape, and May has stayed with Caleb this whole time. May apparently has, at this point, the movie didn't do too much of her going, that's it, I'm with them. But it just indicates she has made the decision.
Yes.
I might die, but I'm staying with Caleb and his family.
Good choice.
So she's with them. And so what I don't understand is the way this works at the very end is I don't know why they're kind of frozen in the middle of the road. What it is Sarah and Caleb are providing like cover for May.
Right.
And I'm like, maybe try and get her off the road, find some other cover, but they seem locked in this little huddle, which allows the vampires in the station wagon to, for one thing, Homer does bust out, and he is at this point suicidal essentially, because he's like, no, I want her, and is running forward knowing, and this is almost broad daylight at this point. It's not even dawn anymore.
Well, it does seem like he is trying to get to her, and then at a certain point is like, it ain't gonna happen. And
it ain't gonna happen, but I might as well keep running.
Well, and then it does kind of just become like an acceptance of like, I'll just die.
It is well shot, and again, we have a talented young actor. This guy is so weird,
good, man.
He's so good, and he runs crying, and then he's cooking and literally going into flames. This is more than we've seen before.
Yep.
And then he crumbles to the ground and explodes.
Yep. He goes up, man. He goes up like
this
nobody's
movie,
business.
Again, you've watched all of SCTV. This was made for the Farm Film Report.
They got blowed up real good.
The thing I like about that Homer, I like the way he blowed up. Oh yeah, he blowed up real good. Blowed up real good.
Blowed up real good. I love that. The hit.
So then we only have the two left.
We only have the two left, and they're driving at them. And
it's kind of effective because the whole thing is.
But at this point, like they haven't fully sealed the car off. They're starting to catch fire.
They are covered inside the car, and but they're already cooking. The light's coming in too many places.
They're done.
But the tension is, they're kind of not at a very high speed, but they are coming for the people who are just grouped up in the middle of the road. Like, fine, if we're dying, we're taking them out with us.
Yeah.
And you even see Caleb going, oh shit, like we can't move, and they're about to hit us.
Yeah.
But instead, they're done.
Yeah, and it's sort of almost like, the second they chose to chase these people down was kind of their undoing. They should have just gone back and hid, and it is a nice moment where they both kind of realize we're done and they grab hands. It actually
they are cooking, and you see smoke, and they are charred, and they hold hands, a la Thelma and Louise, and she has a nice line. She just goes, Gotta admit, they were some good times or something like that. And she's being wistful. And so even these horrible killing monsters.
Well, that's the thing, is they're not just one note, though. Like, that's what really works about this movie. They
had a family bond, and you can't help but respond to that.
And I'm pretty sure also, Homer just blew up. Now Severin's dead. May is going off. Dead. So I think part of them is also like, what's the point even now?
What's the point?
And so they just blow up together. And it's awesome and kind of beautiful. Up
inside the car. The car then is rolling off.
Yeah.
As they're blowing up, so it does veer.
Yeah.
Which means it's not hitting them. The good guys.
Yeah.
So it veers off, and then the whole car goes.
Yeah. It blowed up real good.
Yes, it did. Apparently, 2 vampires inside of a station wagon igniting will cause the entire car to go.
Love it. I love when stuff blows up in movies. I'm with those guys from SCTV.
No,
I love when stuff blows up real good. Lots of movies I watch, stuff blows up real good.
I hear I hear a lot of praise for Ambulance, even though I have no reason to want to see it.
I need to get out to see, actually. I really want to see it.
I don't want to see it. I'm not a big fan unless there's something like with big robots. But
regardless, I'm a big Bay fan.
Every single review is just like going, God damn, there's plenty of explosions in that. If you were missing explosions in movies.
Because I will say, say what you will about Michael Bay and whether or not you enjoy his movies. That guy does blow up stuff better than almost anyone. He can really blow things up. He can craft that shit.
Yes.
And
I can't wait for the sequel, which will be called Step Van. I'm sorry, but a movie called Ambulance is right up there with Moonfall. These are just terrible titles for movies.
Ambulance is maybe a bland title. I don't know that's a terrible title. Moonfall's a terrible title.
Ambulance.
Well, they steal an ambulance. What do you want them to call it?
I can't wait for Caprice Classic.
But it is about guys stealing an ambulance. I feel like it's appropriate.
You could probably come up with a better title than just naming the vehicle that is stolen in it.
So anyway, as we said, we cut to later. May has gotten the transfusion. I'm excited for that ambulance movie. It'll have come and gone so long now by the time this actually comes out. And I'll have seen it probably 3 times. Now,
and you'll have all the action figures.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, action figure companies, where are my Near Dark figures? Come on,
man. We brought that up when we were talking last week. There really need to be some, because these are nicely designed characters.
Like NECA, one of my favorite companies, they make a lot of cult horror movie figures. Get Near Dark. I would love to have
May and Caleb have looks.
I know. I would love to have a shelf with all the vampires from this, man.
Oh, that would be so good.
Like that, that'd be cool. Anyway, as you aforementioned, she does get the transfusion. They open up the barn.
Yeah, it's pretty much a hard leap. Like the other people blow up. Yeah. The people are on the road, and then suddenly we're inside the same barn on Caleb's family's property.
And Caleb comes in.
She wakes up, and it's like, oh shit, I'm alive.
She comes in. She wakes up. She's alive. They kiss in the sunlight on them. They're okay.
I think it's weird that they trigger. I mean, I like a good needle drop. Mm-hmm. But when they cue up ELO's I'm Alive from Xanadu, I just thought, what a weird one. And the world shines for me.
I will say one of the things I was happy about is this movie, unlike a lot of other 80s movies, and it being an indie film, has to do with it, does not have some pop song at the end of it that's like,
actually I do like that, and the song choices are scene specific. They're in that bar scene, and I like that in that bar scene they go from a current pop hit that has kind of a synthy thing that I remember that song, and they also go to contemporary country, all in that scene. That scene is so long that the jukebox gets hit like 3 times, and we get 3 different tracks in one scene,
and it all fits. It's all in the atmosphere.
It all fits. Then we get Tangerine Dream, unless someone has turned on a radio in the truck, which happens once.
Yeah, Tangerine Dream, so good.
Yeah,
I love their new stuff. By the way, if you listen to their current albums, it all sounds like soundtracks for movies that don't exist. They're still doing
I have not kept up with Tangerine Dream.
Yeah, I really am a massive fan of theirs.
That's okay.
Yeah, because I do love like dark synth music. So yeah. So Near Dark, absolute must watch. I would say even your quibbles with it, I think you would still say you got to check this one out.
Are you kidding? I fucking love this movie.
Yeah.
I fucking love this movie. I would do a quick and easy rewrite of it, but at the same time, the parts that work.
Yeah.
And as we've already stated, there are great performances and at least one all-time great scene.
Yep.
in cinema,
in movies. Yeah, not in vampire horror movies. I mean, I think a lot of people might call us crazy, but no, legitimately, I think that scene is on the level with some of those Tarantino scenes.
If it doesn't both thrill you and unnerve you, then I don't know why are you even listening to this podcast?
And here's the thing, knowing Tarantino's work and listening to him talk so much, I wouldn't be surprised if we talked to him about that bar scene from Bastards. He goes, "Oh man, I was totally doing Near Dark there, man." God, I wouldn't put it, because this totally seems like a movie he'd be like, "Oh, fucking Near Dark, man, I love it."
I think it's ballsy, and of course, that's just such a great, and I'm sure that's both the writer and director working together, saying this will be a showcase. So what we're going to do is we're not going to do quick cuts. We're not going to veer away. We're going to spend some time in this, and that scene advances nothing except for Caleb's refusal to become a killer. It doesn't add anything other than we now know how monstrous these monsters
It takes you even deeper into how psychotic
because we've only
and
seen
these people
clips or bits of them being killers. This is them at their most,
gleeful,
and you're like, holy
pointless
shit.
murders too. Like, not even.
Can you imagine a century of them roaming and just laying waste?
Yeah.
Holy hell.
So so Near Dark we highly recommend. Well, next week on the show, Brendan, as mentioned, we're also doing a vampire movie, but a considerably different vampire movie. As we said, it came out the same weekend. Was that what I said? As this, I think I did, or at least maybe the next weekend, but pretty close. Is My Best Friend is a Vampire. Now, this is one I loved as a kid, but have not seen since I was a kid. So,
is this Howling 4? My Best Friend is a Vampire.
Your sister's a werewolf. Your best friend's a vampire. Sooner or
That's
later,
a t-shirt. That's a t-shirt we need to have for our podcast.
Yes.
Your sister's a werewolf. My best friend's a vampire.
Yes.
And on the back, it'll be the poster for the classic from the 50s. The werewolves are coming. The rats are here.
This is I love Robert Sean Leonard, who's the star of this movie. It also has some great character actors. Particularly as a kid, I love that Rene Auberjonois is in it, because I was a massive and still
who
am
doesn't
Star
love
Trek.
him?
Huge Star Trek fan, of course, and I love Odo.
R.I.P.
So. R.I.P. man, and the great David Warner playing our Van Helsing-esque character in it. Before he actually goes on to literally play Van Helsing on Penny Dreadful.
Oh, that's right.
He did actually play the Professor Van Helsing.
I gave up on that show before it ended.
I was on that thing from start to finish. I loved Penny Dreadful. I did
liked
not
it
watch
in concept.
the LA set one that they did recently, the spinoff. I did not watch, but I did watch all of the original Penny Dreadful. Loved it.
Okay.
Yeah. I, on the whole, do I like things more than you do? Maybe sometimes. I don't know.
On the whole, you like everything more than I do.
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably true. Even the stuff I don't like, I feel like I'm still kinder.
Okay.
You're actually
I never say that anything is a full-on piece of shit, but that's true. Sometimes I do.
Even I do, but I will say you don't throw that out as much as some people I know, though. So even your nitpicks
for me,
often.
it's really just based in smarts, and I don't pretend to be an incredible genius person, but I sit there going, story works with smarts. Sure. And even if you're not the best filmmaker, even if you're not the best actor, there are things you can bolster always to make the movie a little bit better. And sometimes I feel that people just go, this is good enough.
Sure.
I see a lot of good enough cinema, and that makes me angry.
No, I agree with that. The aforementioned the Great Blank Check podcast and their terminology that I so thank them for, movies they described as a gentleman's six. Totally watchable. That's their version of the Hangover movie, basically.
Yeah, a gentleman's six.
A gentleman's six. Totally watchable.
It's very classy.
Yeah.
But Near Dark is a classic. Next week, I have no idea. I've never seen it.
It's been a long time since I've seen My Best Friend is a Vampire. It is closer to a Teen Wolf tone, I believe.
Yeah, I know.
But I think it's got a little bit more monster in it than that movie, but not much. It
is a good cast.
It is a good cast. It is. That's a fun. I'm excited to revisit it, even if I already know it won't be as good as I remember it. But I'm going in with that attitude, so it may surprise me. But that'll be next week on the show. That is going to do it for this week's episode of Campbell and Jones Meet the Monsters. I'm John Campbell.
I'm Brendan Jones.
And remember, there are such things as monsters.
That's finger licking good.